definitely interesting.
Martin Truex Jr. wins Pocono.
You know, they call it the tricky triangle for the reason. It is a difficult racetrack.
That lap in Pocono is very fast.
Pocono goes to Dale Earnhardt Jr.
It's a fun lap when you get it right, and it's a long day if you get it wrong.
Nobody wants to get it wrong when you come to Pocono, especially with only 6 races left before the chase. Welcome back to Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Want to go through the starting grid? Up on the front row, Kyle Busch looking for win number 4. Kevin Harvick having his best Pocono start today.
And starting third is Joey Logano. He started in the top 3 in 10 races this year. And Austin Dillon, who has his best qualifying effort of the year.
Row 3 made up of 2 SHR teammates, Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch, both with 2 times winner here at Pocono.
Let's add another name to that list. Carl Edwards, also a 2-time winner here at Pocono. He starts in row 4.
Starting outside row 5, Jeff Gordon, 6-time Pocono winner, most of all drivers.
Row 6 has a combined 7 Pocono wins with Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson.
And row 7, Martin Truex Jr. won here in June. How about Ryan Newman, though? He has to go to the back because they changed to rear end gear after qualifying.
Another row made up of teammates, HMS teammates, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kasey Kahne.
Row 9 has 2 drivers and teams that have to work hard to make the chase. Jamie McMurray, Paul Menard.
And back in row 10, we've got Clint Boyer, who needs a top 10 today. He is right on the cut line if he wants to make it to the chase. Let's chat with the guy who won the race here in June. Let's see if we can hear from Martin Truex Jr.
Hey, Martin, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. You got us? Hey, Martin, it's Jeff. You got us?
Yeah.
Hey, bud, this is a really difficult racetrack, and we've talked a lot about the 3 different corners and how hard it is. Can you tell us what you believe is the most difficult corner?
All difficult, bud. I'm sure you know all about that.
All right, well, which one's the most important?
I'm a lot smoother, a little bit for a minute or so. We'll see what we get today. Guys done a good job this weekend and felt pretty good right there at the end of practice, so we'll see what we got.
All right, buddy, thanks for joining us, and I hope you have a good day.
I tell you what, this is one of those racetracks that's very big, and so if you have a radio issue like we're hearing with right now, Martin Truex Jr., they can come in and out. And so obviously we apologize. We didn't get to hear all of the answers that Martin was giving there. But another thing that you've got to look at when you come to a giant racetrack like this. We're going to ride along with a few different drivers today. Starting 18th, carrying the Chevy on board, will be the 27 of Paul Menard. A little bit closer to the front, Martin Truex Jr., as we just chatted with him, has the Sprint onboard camera. Jeff Gordon starts 10th today in his final Pocono race with the AARP in-car camera. Brad Keselowski with the Ford EcoBoost onboard starts 9th. Tony Stewart in the top 5. He will carry the Mobile One onboard camera today. And the front row is taken care of by Kevin Harvick, who starts 2nd with Jimmy John's onboard. And the 18 of Kyle Busch starting on the pole with the Toyota onboard camera. All right, Steve, I want to take a look at today's Mobile One performance factors.
Well, Pocono, we've talked all weekend long about how difficult these 3 corners are, but what can be even more difficult than handling is the pit strategy. The crew chief, he has a role in that. He has to decide when do we come in, how long we can stretch our fuel, how important in tires. But he's not the only one. The driver has to understand that strategy. He has to manage the fuel and the expectations of that fuel. And when you have track position, he has to work very hard to keep it.
Fans all on their feet waving as the drivers go by, getting ready for the green flag to come out here at Pocono. Before that happens, let's find out a few more of the storylines. We go to pit road and Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, there's a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota on the pole today, but Denny Hamlin thought it would be him until he got to turn 3 on his qualifying lap. He told me moments ago, I lost so much time through there, and that's why we qualified 11th, which is going to make his day quite difficult. Denny Hamlin used to be dominant here at Pocono. He has 4 Pocono wins. He's going to try for his 5th win today, and if he does that, he'll tie his childhood hero, Bill Elliott, for 2nd on the all-time Pocono win list. He told me that's pretty cool if I can do that. Kelly?
Marty, Tony Stewart will be starting inside the top 5 for just the second time this season, but it's also the second time in 2 weeks. And considering the difficult season the 3-time champion is having, this team will hold on to any sign of positivity or momentum. Tony, in fact, picked up his first win as a team owner here at Pocono back in 2009, so you know this place has some significance for him. And crew chief Chad Johnston told me that they had confidence unloading here at a track where they knew that they could run well. A top 5, even a top 10 finish could be a game changer here for Tony Stewart. He starts 5th, Mike.
Kelly, a year ago, this triangular track was anything but tricky for Dale Earnhardt Jr. In fact, he won both races here, which explains why there might have been an element of frustration earlier in this weekend as the 88 team struggled to find speed during practice. Crew chief Greg Ives, however, told me that just before their final run in happy hour, he made maybe 8 to 10 different changes on the setup of the race car. He felt like those changes gave Dale Earnhardt Jr. the feel he needs, the feel he had a year ago when he won twice here. He's looking for another big win, a win that will give him momentum as we get closer to the chase. Dave Burns.
Mike, let me pick up where Martin Truex Jr. might have left off. I asked his crew chief, Cole Pern, about sweeping this weekend at Pocono. He said it's going to be really tough, and here's why. Most of the top of the field has gotten better. A lot more cars are faster this time than they were in June, so we've got to deal with that. And the grinding down of the bumps in the tunnel turn, that actually works against us. We thought we had that dialed in pretty well versus some of the other teams, so that advantage has been taken away from us. If they do it, they're going to have to do it also from a tough starting position, 13th, Rick.
Thank you, Dave. So we've talked a lot about how this difficult racetrack will be hard to get everyone's grasp on. How about we look at the facts? It's 2.5 miles. Turn 1 is 14 degrees. Turn 2, 8 degrees. Turn 3, 6 degrees. And Jeff, as you mentioned, you have straightaways that are all of differing lengths. The front stretch, the longest we have in NASCAR, at over 3,700 feet. The back stretch, just over 3,000. And then the short stretch between 2 and 3, under 2,000 feet. So a very difficult track to try to figure out. Let's take a look at today's Sunoco fuel strategy. 160 laps, 400 miles. Pit road speed will be 55 miles per hour. But Steve, more importantly, the fuel window, which you know so much about here at Pocono because you've won a race here on strategy between 33 and 36 laps.
Yeah, when you look at the Sunoco fuel strategy, we talk about the fuel window of 33 to 36 laps. Well, that's when we think everybody on pit road can go. It's how far are they willing to go? Who is willing to pit with 38 or 39 laps to go, hoping their driver can save some fuel out on the racetrack, give them the utmost important track position when it comes to the finish.
Let's take a look at some of Jeff Gordon's milestones, brought to you by AARP. This will be his 46th start here at Pocono. He has the most wins. He's led the most laps, over 1,000 laps led by Jeff Gordon. He ranks second on second place finishes, top 5 finishes, top 10 finishes. When we come to a racetrack, every racetrack we come to with Jeff Gordon, his numbers are incredible. But here at Pocono, it seems like he's really figured things out here with 6 wins.
Yeah, I mean, the 6 wins, and he's won every different way. He's won here with great cars, won here on great strategy, won here on restarts, lost here on restarts. Heck, we won here in rain one time back in 2007. So he knows how to win at Pocono. 46 times is a lot of times, and to lead all those categories, it's impressive.
And getting ready to drop the green flag here. Remember, Jeff Gordon needs a win to get in the chase. Right. So all the wins we've talked about him having, all the success here, today could be possibly the biggest because it will give him a chance in his last year to have an opportunity to win the championship.
And before the green flag flies, a few different communications going between driver, spotter, and crew chief. How about Joey Logano? Listen in.
Let's have a good one today, guys. Lots of strategy going to be played out. We'll just work hard, let it play out, see where we're at the end of this thing. Go for a checker flag. Copy that.
Logano, one of the guys who already has one of the win stickers already on his car, locking him into the chase.
You hear him talking about strategy already. They all know different strategies, but listen, we've qualified, we've practiced, we've done everything. Right now, what really matters is track position. So coming to get the green, we got to have a good restart. Turn 1 on a restart is really important because there's a time to gain track position or lose it. A lot of pressure on the drivers right here.
And remember, at lap 15, there'll be a competition caution, so there will be a break about halfway through the fuel run. Green flag is in the air. We're underway from Pocono. Side by side as they work their way into turn 1. Kyle Busch chose the outside line. He won the pole. And now Kevin Harvick will slide into second.
Real clean start. Everybody got off well. Nobody made any big mistakes. See what happens getting into the tunnel turn. Really tight corner. First time they've been in the tunnel turn with this much traffic.
Joey Logano was able to get in front of the 3 of Austin Dillon. Now he moves back to the inside, trying to take that spot away. Here comes Kurt Busch as well.
So Austin actually run the left side tires on the grass a little bit, getting into turn 3. That probably hurt his middle of his corner speed. See Kyle Busch trying to take advantage of it. Tony Stewart pushing him down the front straightaway.
And you see how much of the draft plays a count. Even and another big move to the bottom there, 3 wide underneath the 41 and the 14 of the 2 SHR cars. Goes to 24 Jeff Gordon and clears the 41 into turn 1.
Big pass by Jeff Gordon happening down the front stretch right in front of the grandstands here.
You see how that outside, Tony Stewart did a really nice job of keeping his momentum up, using the outside lane. See how much that helped him down the back straightaway. And of course, the 41 and the 24 being side by side, that creates a lot of drag. So it enabled Tony Stewart to pull away from both of them.
So Tony Stewart in the 5th spot. That's where he started. Kyle Busch out front. Here comes Carl Edwards looking to the inside of Jeff Gordon. Edwards in the 19, Gordon in the 24.
As we look out the rear bumper of the 24 Jeff Gordon, you see how important momentum is off of these corners. He got a great exit off turn 4. You hear right there, he shifts to 4th gear, continues to pull the 19 of Carl Edwards down into turn 1. But you got to see here the heavy braking. Looking back at Carl Edwards, he doesn't quite gain as much as you would expect under braking, trying to back up that corner to get a good run off.
You watch Jeff Gordon, he's come off turn 1 right here. He's going to upshift. He's in 3rd gear right now. He's approaching the tunnel turn. There he goes into 4th gear. If you don't go to 4th gear there, you'll overhead the engine, and over a long time, over this whole race, you'll blow up.
3 wide. Working their way into the tunnel turn. That won't work. We've seen them go 2 wide through there.
You can see it's rough. You saw those cars. You saw Martin Truex's car bounce as it left the new asphalt and went onto the new old asphalt. The car, there's still a bump there. The car made a big lurch, fell into the racetrack. Didn't really hurt his grip level, though.
Here comes Kurt Busch. He's going to be able to get by owner Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart had been holding on to that 5th spot. Kurt Busch wants to take it away. Kurt Busch at this racetrack has won twice. Most recently was back in 2007, so it's been a while since he's been to victory lane here. Kyle Busch, Kurt's brother, out in front of the field, has a 7/10 of a second lead over second place Kevin Harvick. How difficult is it to catch the guy up front? Clean air, does it mean more here because of these long straightaways?
Well, I think clean air matters because if you're behind another car, it's very difficult through the corners to be able to stay up with him because it takes all the air off your car. What you're hoping to do is catch 2 cars side by side. Catch 2 cars side by side, they can't carry the speed through the corner, and then hopefully you can use your momentum.
Oh, we got one moving into the, we saw this on pit road early. Kasey Kahne hits the inside wall and knocks it down. Saw some guys' helmets that were sitting up there. So a problem with Kasey Kahne's car. Goes on to pit road and the caution's out.
We saw this Saturday in practice, almost identical to that. We talked about how rare it is that it can happen. It's happened twice in 2 days.
Hit where a banner was. It made it look like that wall went way in, but I think it was the banner that was kind of coming out because of the air. But I think the wall once again held up on the inside of pit road. This is where people have to pay attention because on pit road you've got crew members that it's too early for a pit stop, so a lot of them will sit on pit road or be watching the race on a TV monitor that might be on one of the pit boxes. We heard Kasey Kahne come on the radio. A lot of damage to the left front of that car. Let's get a replay. This is coming off of turn 3.
It's coming off turn 3, approaching the front straightaway. You can see Kasey's all by himself, gets loose. Same thing we saw with Jeb Burton the other day, almost in the same tread marks. Can't get the car all the way spun out. Now I'll be honest with you, he's long for the ride, trying to keep from hitting the inside wall, but there's just no stopping it at this point. Very scary.
And as you mentioned, 2 days in a row now, we have seen something similar to this. As I mentioned, some of the things that were sitting on pit road, crew members will put their helmets on pit road waiting before they have to go out there for a pit stop. And we've seen on these replays some things flying, one of those being a helmet.
Yeah, and you see he didn't hit pit stall 43. He's all the way down. That's actually pit stall 38. You see here when he makes impact, all the helmets sitting on pit wall.
Yeah. One going way up in the air.
And you know, thank goodness that interior wall is as strong as it is. I mean, that's the second heavy impact that wall has taken in the last 2 days. Kudos to the racetrack, the people that built the wall, and everybody that went and checked the wall out after yesterday's impact to make sure it was still structurally sound.
And the guy who's right down there in that area is Marty Snyder.
And this actually happened between Travis Quapple's pit and A.J. Allmendinger's pit. You can see a piece of Kasey Kahne's car physically embedded in the wall. You can't get it out. And if you look on the backside here, it's actually come through the other side as well. The wall did buckle a little bit. Everybody down here, first of all, we should tell you, is safe. Everything is fine. As you mentioned, guys, those were helmets just sitting on the wall. Everybody got out of the way in plenty of time. Nobody down here injured at all. A lot of scattering. Brandon Nagdowski, the track president, is down here checking this out. I can tell you that where Jeb Burton hit the wall yesterday, the track did repair that overnight. They put some boilerplate behind that. They did repair the wall in pit stall 42, but as you mentioned, this is a little bit further down and heavy impact with a wall, which did buckle a little bit, but kept everybody safe behind the wall, and thankfully that is the case here.
Absolutely, Marty. And we'll keep you up to date on everything as far as if there were any injuries that were involved in this. Yesterday, as we mentioned, Jeff Burton in final practice coming off of turn number 3, very similar situation.
And if you watch it, if you saw the tire marks, it looked identical. It looked like it came off turn 3. I mean, the tire marks laid over top of each other. So, again, you know, kudos to everyone that constructed that wall, maintains that wall. Can you imagine if that wall wasn't as strong as it is?
Yeah, there's so many people back there behind pit wall, not only crew members, but also fans that are enjoying the race that have a unique perspective of this racetrack and what is taking place. So the 5 of Kasey Kahne out. A beautiful, partly cloudy day in the Pocono Mountains. Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Steve, we're under a red flag condition. NASCAR is telling us that they're going to take about 10 minutes to try to repair that wall. I'm guessing they'll do a little bit of welding there. But I want to look back at this accident and dive a little deeper into the responsibilities of, say, a crew chief.
Yeah, but you're going to see here Kasey Kahne hits the wall in front of the 47 pit box. There's 3 people there in casual street clothes. That tells me they're either sponsors or guests of the team. As a crew chief, you're responsible for that entire area. That goes for your team, your sponsors, the guests of your sponsors. When we talk about responsibilities that these teams have, this pit road at times, you just assume everything's going to be okay. You're on the other side of pit wall. But I can tell you, not only can cars make it down to pit road, but when after pit stops, lug nuts fly. Pit road is a dangerous place, and the sponsors and guests need to be reminded that. And I agree with the sentiment you guys made. I'm impressed with how well that wall held up. You don't ever think of a race car hitting it at that speed. As many times I've been on pit road, I never ever would have thought of a car making contact with that wall. But the 5 car did, and the wall held up great.
Kasey Kahne was taken to the infield care center. He was evaluated and released. Now, Jeff, what about the implications this has for his chase hopes?
Well, listen, we've talked about how these teams have to perform at a high level. And you look at where Kasey Kahne is right now after this incident, and this could probably get worse as the race goes on. So, you know, these teams are afforded very few races to have bad races in. There's only 6 races left in the chase. And so you have to assume that Kyle Busch, we've already moved Kyle Busch into first with 4 wins. We've moved him up. This moves Kasey Kahne out. We also have to assume we're going to get a few more winners. We may get a winner today, a new winner. Watkins Glen, there's some opportunities for new winners in these last 6 races. That makes this battle 16th, 15th, 14th. That makes this battle very tough. A day like today will be a poor finish, and it hurts their opportunity.
And really, the reason we're talking about it is we're only 6 races away from the chase. There's not a lot of opportunities, especially when guys are so close to that bubble. Let's hear from one of the guys who's just outside of that cut line now. He was involved in the incident. He's with Marty.
And that would be Kasey Kahne, and let's chat about what happened there. First of all, to start the incident, Kasey.
I just got loose. It was late exit. A lot later than I would have expected. You know, that's why I ended up so far down pit road, which was kind of crazy. I've never ended up over there, but yeah, I just got loose and basically spun, you know, and that was it. So I tried saving it kind of avoided running into the wall, the pit wall, and then, hit the one on the left, not the one on the right. But, man, just a rough last month, for our Aquafina team, and not real sure why that happened, what happened so quickly there, but it was just gone.
I'm curious, as a driver, what goes through your mind? You're sliding towards pit wall. Does your thoughts immediately go to the people who might be behind pit wall?
Well, at first I was like, I can't believe I'm clear over here this late in the corner, and then all the way to the left, heading towards pit wall. And then I saw the people. I was like, man, you guys better take off running, get out of the way. I didn't know. I hadn't done anything like that before, so it's kind of crazy the way it all happened. But I don't know why we're so far, what the deal was right there.
Yeah, Kasey Kahne obviously upset about his race today, but also glad that all the folks and himself just fine, Rick.
Yeah.
He's almost stunned, right? He can't believe how that happened. He's never been in that situation before. Race car drivers, they, by nature are not scared of very many things. But when you're going down the angle that he was going and you're seeing people and you're approaching them at that rate of speed, that has to scare you to death. That you could possibly be involved in something that's going to hurt a lot of people. So there's things bigger to him than the chase right now. And, that is a scary situation for a race car driver.
Absolutely. The safety of the fans and crews that are here, obviously paramount with his concern, as we heard in his voice. We're under a red flag condition here at Pocono.
Toyota Track Talk with NASCAR Sprint Cup team owner and driver Michael Waltrip.
Pocono Raceway, located in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania. It's got 3 turns. That's not normal. We race around tracks with 4 turns. Turn 4 is where the action is. Not at Pocono. The action's at turn 3. And turn 3 is challenging. And it's important, too, because when you round turn 3 and head up on that front straightaway, you need a lot of momentum because the sprint straightaway is close to a mile long. And the faster you get off turn 3, it propels you all the way down that track. It's quite a thrill ride. Denny Hamlin winning both races in 06, his rookie season. Last year, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was able to accomplish the same thing. He swept the Pocono races. I guess there's horses for courses, and last year in Pocono, that horse was named Junior.
Brought to you by the bold new 2015 Toyota Camry.
Watch a live stream of every Sprint Cup Series race with NBC Sports Live Extra. It's available on your laptops, tablets, smartphones, and connected TVs. NBC Sports Live Extra brings you closer to every race. Fans got a close-up look of cars that they weren't expecting to be this close. Yesterday in practice, this was Jeb Burton. He goes and hits right in pit stall 41. So he was a little bit closer to pit entrance than this crash by Kasey Kahne. They almost looked identical. That's the crazy thing about this. And we had a discussion with NASCAR earlier today about this incident and if there was anything they could do.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I've been coming to Pocono, and I've been coming since the mid-90s, I have never seen 2 cars spin to pit road like that. And here we've seen 2 in the same weekend. So when we discussed the opportunity to improve that with NASCAR, there was a lot of conversation about where pit road should be located as far as towards turn 3 or towards turn 1, whether the pit stalls could be extended down towards turn 1. And NASCAR, we asked NASCAR, there's a group of pit stalls that are not used at the start-finish line right in front of Victory Lane. And it seemed obvious to Jeff and I yesterday after the Jeb Burton accident that this is an area that we could easily use to make 3 more pit stalls. But Mike Helton brought up an excellent point that not only is the concern for safety on the racetrack side of pit wall, but it's very important for the crews behind pit wall to be safe. And the way Victory Lane comes close to pit wall right there, there would not be enough distance to set up a safe pit box area and have a fire lane. God forbid if someone got hurt on one end of pit road and the fire crew had to get through there, they maintain a fire lane behind the pit boxes. So while long term that might be an opportunity, in the short term that was not an option.
It's just an example of how we never know what's going to happen. These cars go so fast, they have so much energy, anything can happen at any time. The cars can end up anywhere. And again, it pinpoints my philosophy is that safety is an unobtainable goal. You have to be striving for it every day. But if you ever get to the point and you say, you know what, we've done all we can do, it's the best it can be, then you're in trouble. You have to continue to put effort in. We've seen the racetracks make investment in safer barriers. We've seen them take the grass out. We have to continue to look how to make it safer for everybody. Remember, there were no cars on pit road when this happened.
Right, and no crew members on the other side.
That's correct. So thank goodness for that. But it's just another example of how the sport, it's all of us. It's not just NASCAR. It's everybody involved has to continually be looking to how to make things better. It's a dangerous sport. By nature, it's a dangerous sport, no question. But it doesn't have to be any more dangerous than it has to be. We also have to pay attention to the positives. Once again, that wall has been here probably longer than we've been coming here.
Absolutely.
And that wall held up, did a great job. Structurally, it did everything it needed to do. So they're fixing a wall. Great. Fix it. It did not fail. Right. It prevented the car from going into the pit area.
And, Jeff, we discussed this on Countdown to Green about how an incident like this or any sort of incident, the best part that comes out of it, very unfortunate incident, is dialogue and talking about how you can improve it. Because we've been coming here for quite a while, and now in 2 days, such eerily similar crashes. It's uncanny. I can't believe it. I've seen a lot of different accidents, but these skid marks we're pointing to right here are Jeb Burton's skid marks from his practice accident. As you watch Kasey Kahne get loose way up by the wall here and starts to spin, he basically tracks in the same exact skid marks. The difference between Kasey Kahne and Jeb Burton is right here. Kasey Kahne gets it turned back to the right. That actually feeds him a little farther down pit road, not by his doing. Listen, he's crashing. He's doing all he could do to minimize the accident. But 2 times in 2 days, Jeff, we've seen eerily similar accidents.
Yeah, it's just, again, you just never know what's going to happen. These cars are moving so fast, it's hard to predict it.
They're getting closer as they continue to weld the wall on the inside. We're under red flag condition. Okay. And welcome back. The wall is fixed. But let's hear from one of the drivers who's running up front.
Hey, Kevin, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. How you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just waiting to get back going here.
Okay, so tell me what this does to your psyche when you have a red flag only 6 laps into a long race.
Well, it probably gives me way too much time to think about what I need to be doing. So, you know, the first part of this race is a little bit unique just for the fact that you have the ARCA cars out here yesterday. And until we get that rubber off the racetrack and really get through this first run, you don't really know what to do to your car. So right now we're just trying to get a good feel for that, go off of what we have done in the past, and see if we can't make the right adjustments right off the bat with our Jimmy John's team.
All right, Kevin, with 3 completely different corners, which corner do you believe is the most effective to use to make the most speed?
Well, I think that's probably turn 3. I think that seems like the spot where, you know, we've concentrated the most on to try to make the most time. And if you can get through that corner good, you're obviously going to get down the front straightaway. So they're all important. And I think as you look back at, you know, what we've thought about in the past, I think right now you got to get through all 3 corners if you're going to win this race.
Kevin, thank you for your time, bud. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
So Kevin currently running in the 2nd spot behind Kyle Busch. You can get news, results, and highlights delivered to your inbox. Subscribe to the free official NASCAR newsletter at NASCAR.com/newsletter. So the red flag has gone away. The yellow flag is out. They're rolling once again. The wall has been fixed, welded. Pit road is open again. Competition caution scheduled for lap 15. That red flag, we were under a red flag for 14 minutes and 43 seconds.
Yeah, and with the competition caution coming at lap 15, the rule is you're not allowed to put fuel in your car before that. They do that, especially the track of this size, so there's no games played about short pitting or trying to trick the caution. The caution is supposed to be equal for everybody. So with only now 7 laps complete and not have the opportunity to put fuel in your race car, I can't believe that any of the leaders, probably no one, will come down pit road.
Everyone staying out on the track. We'll go 2 by 2 and be ready for the restart when we come back.
About to go back to racing here at Pocono. The red flag has been lifted and the wall has been repaired here on pit road. It was about a 6-inch gap right here. They welded it, then they cooled it down actually with a fire extinguisher for the 32 team so they could work on that. The biggest damage, the spring out of the gun for the rear tire changer actually came out for the 47 team. The helmets, we saw them fly. They flew all the way to this wall about 25 feet, hit about 8 feet high and fell down to the ground, Rick. We're back to green.
Green flag is back in the air.
and 60, and they fan out 4 and 5 wide again as they get ready to enter turn number 1.
So Martin Truex had to make a big move, and then Jimmy Johnson had to block Danica to keep her from getting underneath him.
3 wide as they go through turn number 1. Kyle Busch with another great restart. In front of the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Austin Dillon with a very good restart. Has the 3rd spot locked up. As Joey Logano now tries to get to the inside and takes it away from him as they go into the tunnel turn.
You see Joey made a hard left, got as far away from the 3 car as he could. If the 3 car could have side drafted the 22 and have pulled the 22 back, the 22 said, I'm not letting you do it. He just turned left, got as far away from the 3 as possible.
And you see the 3 of Austin Dillon right there. As Kurt Busch goes back, he gets back to the bottom to try to stop the runs. That's the big thing about this racetrack, is not only does somebody get a pass, did you see Danica Patrick here pulling out of line on Jimmy Johnson trying to pass him down the front stretch, is when someone does get the momentum, you have to kind of protect and block and only let one guy by.
Yeah, that was the thing with Austin Dillon. Coming out of turn number 1, Austin Dillon looked really good. Looked like he had 3rd locked up. And then the momentum kicked in with Kurt Busch. And then right by him, Joey Logano also involved in that pass. So that momentum played a key role in Austin Dillon losing 2 spots just leaving turn number 1.
No question. A lot of times in this situation, if the 11 car did not get off the corner very well, then it would slow the 78 car up. And then the car behind the 78 would pass the 78. So a lot of times, you actually don't want to get too close to a car here. You want to lay back a little bit and carry momentum on the exit of the corner. If you catch them in the center of the corner and get too close to them, it slows you down and lets the guys behind you catch. So the timing of the pass and the timing of trying to catch a guy here is different than other places because the corners are so long and they lead to long straights.
Is there a optimum place to pass at this racetrack? We see a lot of times guys going into 1 making the pass, but this last time we saw it in turn 2.
Anywhere you can get a run on the car in front of you. And that's really the key. We talk about compromise. The optimal place to pass is going to be different for Denny Hamlin in the 11 as it is for Martin Truex in the 78. You see Martin Truex here completing the pass, getting into the tunnel turn. Well, that tells me that the 78 is getting through turn 1 very good. But what makes it so difficult is now Denny Hamlin has to protect against Dale Earnhardt Jr., who also got through the tunnel turn very well. The compromise of the 3 corners is what makes racing here so exciting and so difficult at the same time, because you have to take advantage of your good corners and not lose too much on your bad corners.
And all these cars are racing to lap 15. That is when NASCAR has told us there will be a competition caution around lap 15. As we see Martin Truex Jr. continuing the momentum, going in the right direction. He gets by Carl Edwards. Jeff Gordon looks to the inside of Tony Stewart, trying to take that position away.
Tony Stewart's doing a great job of trying to keep the momentum up on the high side. He can't do it, though, and the 24 clears him off turn 1.
Now they're a Long Pond straightaway. They're heading into the tunnel turn. We talked a lot about the tunnel turn, the new pavement, how smooth it is. Well, let me tell you something. It's still pretty rough. Right there where they leave the new asphalt, there's a big bump. Watch Denny Hamlin's car as his left sides are on the yellow line. Watch as he moves off the new asphalt onto the old asphalt. Look at this bump. Drags a splitter, drags the back of the car. It's still rough right there. It's going to be interesting to see as the tires get older and they lose grip. Is the exit of the tunnel turn going to be very important? Because, again, you're on new asphalt. You're transitioning onto old asphalt. Is the old asphalt going to have the grip? And is that bump going to make it a worse handling car with older tires?
Here comes the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He also is moving in the right direction, getting by the 11 of Denny Hamlin, bringing with him Matt Kenseth in the 20.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth, I know he doesn't want to help somebody pass his teammate, but at this point you have no choice. If the 88 has a run on Denny Hamlin, he moved down to push the 88 past. Unfortunately for Matt Kenseth, though, he couldn't fill the hole and take the position as well.
Yeah, when you see another car making a move, it's almost like blood in the water, man. You're going after that. You know that guy's not going to have momentum. You got to go get that spot. There's a lot of times your spotters saying, take advantage, take advantage. That means there's a guy slower. You need to go take advantage of another guy's pass to try to help you make a pass.
The gap, once again, between first and second is about 0.7 of a second. That's what we saw right after the initial start of this race between Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. You had mentioned, Jeff, a little bit of a gap between drivers as we see Matt Kenseth look to the inside of his teammate, trying to make that pass. Is that about the right gap to get that momentum to make a pass like we just saw with Matt Kenseth here?
Well, a lot of it depends on the handling of the car in front of you. If you feel like you can beat a guy through the middle of the corner, you want to go ahead and take advantage of that. But if you're sort of equal to him, you have to be careful to don't run his line. Don't run your car where his car is the best. You got to go where his car is not as good. And when I say that, even though you're behind him, he may be accelerating off of turn 3 really well. That's not a place you're going to beat him. You got to find his weak point. Is he slow off of 1? Is he slow in the middle of the tunnel turn? What you do has a lot to do with the car in front of you.
Right there was a perfect example of that. The 11 had just the smallest of wiggles, and the 2 of Brad Keselowski tried to get in the gas before him. His car just, it didn't rotate quite as good as he had hoped to really carry that momentum and catch and pass the 11.
We're on lap 16 of 160. Again, NASCAR had told us the competition caution would fall approximately lap 15. We see Martin Truex Jr. closed the gap on the back bumper, the 14 of Tony Stewart. And there's that competition caution. So now the field will line up behind the pace car. It will catch them all. They will all be able to get caught back up. And that gives them all an equal opportunity to come onto pit road at the same time.
Decisions. We talk about strategy at Pocono. It's going to start right here at this competition yellow at lap 15. I expect most to pit. It wouldn't shock me if some stay out, though. And the ones that do pit, especially the leaders, I think it's going to be fuel and at most right side tires.
Reed Sorensen gets the lucky dog. He was the only car scored a lap down that's still on the track. Of course, Kasey Kahne is in the garage and out. With this competition caution coming up, the reason for it, I should first explain, there hasn't been any rain in the area. What happened yesterday was there was an ARCA race and some fluid was put down on the track at the end of the ARCA race, and they decided, the officials here at the track decided we needed to clean the track off. And so they did that, and NASCAR decided because they had cleaned the track off, they wanted to give all the teams an equal opportunity to look at the tire wear. So that's the reason for the competition caution.
Yeah, when the teams learned of the competition caution, they factored that into their strategy. Typically, you don't know when the first caution's coming out, so you have a strategy, but it changes and moves. All these teams knew that around this lap there was going to be a caution. So anybody that stops and does 2 here or does 4, they made that decision this morning. That decision's already been made, and they're going to play their strategy out right here. It's going to be really interesting to see who pits. Possibly some people may not pit. That, to me, is pretty brave not to pit right here, but some people could not do it.
If I'm Jimmy Johnson in 16th and Chad Knaus with 4 wins, I'm staying on the racetrack. I'm going to work on my strategy. I'm going to try to get track position. I'm going to go to my fuel window and pit 1 time under green. But that's easy to say up here from the TV booth. We'll see what the crew chiefs on pit road have to say. One thing I do know, though, there are going to be some varying options.
Kevin Harvick, one of the drivers, it looks like he's going to stay out. A few making their way onto pit road. And while they do, headed toward our pit reporters. Let's go to Kelly.
As we see Carl Edwards making his pit stop, he said that he's loose in turn 1 and the nose is tight down in the tunnel turn, make an adjustment, and new Goodyears, Dave.
Joey Logano said that he needed rear drive off the corner, so they'll make a 2 right side tire change. 2 right side tires for Kyle Busch as well.
And the race off pit road brought to you by Geico. Kyle Busch, an impressive run off of pit road. Some changed 2 tires, some didn't change tires at all, just added fuel like Brad Keselowski. Past every moment of today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race with Race Buddy. You can choose from multiple HD feeds of different drivers. You can follow the race action with a live leaderboard. Tune in at NASCAR.com/Race Buddy. All right, a couple guys came to pit road, but quite a few didn't. Steve, why?
Well, it's simple. They're not in their window yet. They're going to race just like a road course. Tires have been very good. They only want to stop 4 times, no more than 4 times. A pit stop here wouldn't have helped them get to that window.
Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, teammates from Tony Stewart Racing. Stewart-Haas Racing out front. The green flag flies once again. The top 7 stayed on the racetrack. And it's 3 wide going through turn 1 again. Kevin Harvick shows the outside line. Kurt Busch on the inside. And Kevin still hasn't been able to clear Kurt as they're going through Long Pond straightaway and into turn number 2.
Kurt has the preferred line right here. Kevin's probably going to have to relent, give him the spot. You don't want to go side by side through the tunnel. And as I say that, they go side by side through the tunnel.
Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick's not going to give him the spot.
Man.
Battles and takes the position.
Unbelievable. Kevin Harvick on the outside took the top spot away. Now Austin Dillon in front of him. They're sliding. Well, oh, it looks like a blow up of the 4. Kevin Harvick looks like the engine blows up on that 4. Saw the smoke.
Yellow's out.
You see it coming out of the right side pipes.
Get her down. Get her down.
It'd be interesting to see. You would assume it's a motor issue with all that smoke. That's an assumption. Could be maybe gear or transmission, but it looked like it was out the pipes, Jeff, as you mentioned, like it was a motor issue. But at that point in the corner, you hear them, it's out the tailpipes. Their day's done.
Interesting start to this race.
Absolutely.
You think about, we're only 21 laps into this race, and we've got one of the favorites is out. One of the guys that was trying to make the chase, he's out. Very interesting start.
This was just after they went through the tunnel turn. We were surprised he was able to stay on the outside of the 41, but take another look.
We got that new asphalt down there, so Kevin probably trusted that asphalt, used it to get in front of the 41, got a good run getting by the 41, and drives into turn 3. You see it start to lay down. Before it even started to smoke, you could see the thing slow down a little bit. And
where would he have shifted, Jeff? He wouldn't have shifted yet? Let's ride along with it. We'll find out.
I'm going to tell you in just 1 second.
Clear. Unclear. Different one. Inside. Where smoke blew up. Stay high here.
You can almost tell he feels it because he reaches down for the shifter, almost like, am I in third? Did I downshift it? But no, I'm in fourth. Like he feels the engine start to labor, start to lay down, and driver's instinct is almost, I am in the right gear. Look at his gauges, and at that point you could heard the spotter say, we're smoking.
Yep.
Kevin does a nice job of staying out of the groove, not putting fluid down in the groove, and gets both hands back on the wheel.
And did you see his hands? He started moving his hands back, left, right. That's a driver getting prepared. There's oil going to be on the back tires. What am I going to do here? He just starts checking the wheel, feeling it, finding it, getting prepared for something to happen.
Kasey Kahne out now. Kevin Harvick out. Only 21 laps in.
Back at Pocono Raceway, Kevin Harvick has made his way from the 4 car, which expired way too early. What did you hear? What did you feel?
Yeah, I definitely had some signs off of turn 2 as to what the problem was, and then it expired going into 3. So hate it for everybody on our Jimmy John's Budweiser team. I felt like we had a really good car again, and just circumstances didn't go our way.
All right, hopefully next week. Kevin Harvick out early at Pocono. Rick?
And he mentioned he felt it. He could feel it. As a driver, what are you feeling? What is that?
Oh, you just feel the motor start to, it just lays down. That's the best way I know to describe it. It gets really slow. But everybody in the field kind of smiled a little bit because if you look at practice from yesterday, the 4 car was ridiculously fast. Everybody knew they were going to have to contend with him for the win today.
And they're 2x2 once again. Kurt Busch, race leader. Jeff Gordon has made his way up to second. Kurt Busch chooses the outside line. We're back to racing at Pocono.
But 9 looks like he missed a shift there. He's definitely going slower. The field has to scatter to get around him.
Kurt Busch easily out to the front, and the 78, Martin Truex Jr. gets by the 24 of Jeff Gordon. He'll take second away. Here comes Joey Logano looking to the inside of Jimmy Johnson. We'll see if they stay too wide through the tunnel turn. Jimmy Johnson tucks in behind the 22.
And I'm going to be interested to see how the 22 of Joey Logano moves forward from here. He's the first guy that's off pit road with 2 fresh right side tires. In front of him, Austin Dillon, Jeff Gordon, Martin Truex, Kurt Busch. All 4 of those cars elected to stay out at the competition yellow.
And this will help shape the strategy in the future. So all the crew chiefs, the drivers, are all paying attention how the tires handle on a car versus no tires. And that'll factor into the decisions later in the race.
How soon will we see Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Gordon, Austin Dillon, the top 4 right now? How soon will we see them on pit road?
Well, I think it really depends on how fast Joey Logano is, but I'm expecting the leaders of Kurt Busch and Martin Truex to probably run pretty far into their fuel cycle, probably to lap 30 or 31 before they come to pit road.
And that is approximately 6-7 laps from now. Keselowski back into the gas. Dale Earnhardt Jr. losing ground to Kyle Busch.
You talked about momentum. It looked like Dale Earnhardt Jr. let the 18 go after he lost the inside position to him. After Kyle has worked very hard to get, and we see some jockeying back in the field
again.
for sure. But after you lose that inside position, you almost have lost the spot. Decide to give the 18 the line to try to keep his momentum up for the front stretch.
Back here it was getting very hectic as those cars came out of turn 3. A little smoke coming out of the 34.
Yeah, Brett Moffitt.
There might have been some contact back there as a lot of them were jockeying for position in track space after they came out of 3. So Moffitt with some tire smoke now on the left rear.
Tony, we got tire smoke now.
Let's take another look. He made contact with another car, and it looks like that's the left rear tire is going down. 3 wide coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, 3 wide out of 3. Obviously, David Gilliland and Brett Moffitt into each other. Gilliland really didn't have much damage or as hard as they hit, but Moffitt certainly, they've got to watch that left rear tire. Don't want to cut a left rear tire for sure.
And that's teammates. That's an owner doesn't want to watch that happen. Front Row Motorsports, both drivers running under the same roof.
You know, we don't talk about these teams a lot. You know, they don't run in the front. They don't contend for wins. Obviously, Front Row won a race at Talladega a few years ago. But that doesn't mean they're not racing hard. And that's the thing. These teams in the back, they're still racing hard. They're still racing for track position. They want to be the best team they could possibly be. So that's an example right there of how those guys do race hard, even though it's not for the win.
Kelly Stavist.
Kurt Busch leads this race. He's won here at Pocono twice before, 2 wins on the season, and now he's riding a wave of 7 straight top 10 finishes. He's been staying out under those cautions. They want to get him into his fuel window before they bring him in to make adjustments, Dave.
Few Pocono race winners have led as many laps as Truex did in June, 97 out of 160, but he'll need fuel to do it. He was one of the guys that stayed out on the first one, and they'll be coming in the next few laps, Mike.
6-time Pocono winner Jeff Gordon is another who stayed out during the caution. Expect him to come down pit road, though, in the next few laps. We heard him say about 8 laps ago that he'd be on pit road in 10, so he's pretty close. Marty?
Mike talked to Slugger Labby this morning. He was a little worried about the transmission in Austin Dillon's car. They had to change it.
Big hit, guys. Big hit. The 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. A lot of damage to the front end of that car. Also involved Sam Hornish Jr. in the 9. We saw him just go out of screen. But a lot of damage to the front of the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And he's still riding around this racetrack.
Front of that car, we see major damage to the front of the car. The nose is not. Look how far back the nose is pushed. When
he's got the window net down, and he's still driving. Obviously, he's still getting the car going in the right direction, but I'm sure someone has told him, just shut it down. Shut it down. They're going to come get you.
Yeah, I was excited to see the window net go down. It always gives me a bad feeling in my stomach. You see a car rolling that slow, you don't see the driver putting on the brakes, but looking at this impact, maybe he has no brakes. I mean, there is heavy damage to the front of that 17. Yeah. It was great to see the window net come down.
And the helmet come out. Let's look back at what happened.
The 9 car had some sort of a problem.
Well, the 17 got into the back of him.
Well, but it looked like the 9 car was slowing down before the 17 got into the back of him. You saw people dodging him, having to turn left. I think there was some sort of a problem with the 9 car, and the 17 didn't see him slowing down, ran into the back of him. That's what it looked like to me. It's hard to 100% tell, but
let's take another look from that first vantage point that we saw.
See the 9 car, the blue car on the top. He's kind of out of the groove. David Gilliland has to turn left to avoid him. 17 doesn't get turned left, so I think there was some sort of a problem with the 9 car.
No, I think you're right on, Jeff. You know, as quick as David Gilliland and that yellow car went by him, the 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. was definitely off the pace. Marty?
Hey guys, real quick, Sam Hornish Jr. did miss a shift. You guys diagnosed that right on the last restart. And in the last couple laps, he started saying, I've had smoke inside the car. So perhaps they had a motor laying down in the 9 car, and maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. That's what happens when these drivers miss a shift. The motor over revs, and that can hurt the valve springs, the valve train, definitely can hurt the engine. But here's the decision now. These guys have stayed out. Now they have to come to pit road for fuel, although the 41 to 78 think they're going to stay out longer.
Going to try a few more laps. A few takers onto pit road. Jeff Gordon, Austin Dillon. Marty.
Austin comes in 4th. They're making a wedge adjustment on the car. He said it's a little bit tight, rolling the center of 3, but it's good everywhere else. 4 tires, Mike.
Jeff Gordon making his first pit stop of the day, saying the car's been loose, especially early in the run. Tight, though, under throttle. Goodyear tires on the right side and the left side, and Sunoco race fuel on Jeff Gordon, an air pressure adjustment as well. Meanwhile, Danica Patrick is on pit road as well. She's been saying she's been snug, especially in turns 1 and 2. They complete service there, trying to free her up just a little bit. Rick?
Logano stays out. He will take the lead over. He came onto pit road at lap 17. Differing strategies early on at Pocono. Returns next week. Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers face Teddy Bridgewater and the Vikings in the Hall of Fame game next Sunday at 8 Eastern. It all leads up to NFL kickoff September 10th only on NBC. All right, Jeff, we heard you kind of diagnosed the 9 had issues going into turn number 1. Here's the last restart.
That's the restart where he missed a shift. He accelerates well, and then as they go, he goes to shift right there. He misses it. Everybody else gets bottled up behind him. He runs into the side of Danica. So when you missed a shift, it over revs the engine. Watch the 9 car right here. Everybody gains on him really quickly. That's where he missed a shift. The car lunges a little bit, trying to get it in gear. And when you shift, when you missed it, it just slings the RPMs. Engine ends up laying down. The guys behind him don't get slowed up and run into him. That's at a very fast part of the racetrack, too, by the way.
And that was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the back of the 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the infield already. p.m. Eastern. Xfinity Series racing from the 2.45-mile road course. We've been wondering about strategy. Let's find out about it. Go to Kelly.
Tony Gibson calls a shot for the leader, Kurt Busch, in the 41, and Steve Letarte wanting to know, why haven't you taken advantage of these cautions?
Well, we were going to, but track position, man, we're like almost a half a second, 3/4 second faster in clean air, so I'll pit when I got to pit for fuel, and then I'll be out by myself in clean air, and I can rifle off some fast laps, and then when them other guys pit, it'll be fine. This ain't the last caution, so I'm just trying to keep my car clean and stay in clean air, so that's it.
All right, thank you, Tony. Dave.
Cole Pernice, Martin Truex's crew chief. Why keep him on the track at this point?
We kind of, made our bet a little bit not stopping on the competition caution, but just really didn't plan on all these yellows. We're kind of in a box now, but I think we'll just run, towards the end of the window. Hopefully, having a clear track is about, the best for lap time wise. So not in a great spot, but we're just trying to make the best of it here. Didn't really want to restart 29.
He restarts up front, Rick.
And they rocket back down into turn number 1. Kurt Busch, race leader, chose the outside line, but it didn't take long for the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. to clear him. Martin Truex Jr. back in front in the Poconos.
All those strategies work really well at staying out as long as we don't get another caution. If this thing goes green for a long time, then staying out will actually benefit these guys. But if we do get a caution at the wrong time, they could actually start back in the pack further than they would have if they would have gone to hit the pit. We'll see how it plays out.
Longest green flag run today has been 7 laps. And again, we're only 34 laps into a 160 lap race. Martin Truex Jr. out in front. Kurt Busch, Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. the top 5. All the way to about the first lane. David Reagan in the 55 was able to get by 20 of Matt Kenseth.
cars on this restart. 47 black car. He's got about a lot of guys, especially off of turn 2.
Comes to 51. Just an Allgaier. Also making his way by at 23 with J.J. Yaley.
This is the problem with pitting. You heard Tony Gibson say he wanted to be in clean air. Look at the 3-car of Austin Dillon. Look at the people he's racing against now versus staying up front and trying to have clean air. And then when they pit under green, having the racetrack completely by yourself. So that's what Tony Gibson was talking about. He wanted to keep his car in clean air, not have to get in the back of the pack.
Somebody in that same strategy mode right now has to be the 48 team, Mike.
Yeah, very similar strategy, although he doesn't have same clean air that the 41 had for a little bit of this race so far. But Chad Knaus elected not to bring the 48 down pit road because they were not in their fuel window. It brings me back to a conversation they had under the red flag condition. Chad actually asked Jimmy during that session, he said, how aggressive do you want to be with pit strategy today? Jimmy paused for a little bit and then answered and said, hey, we've got to be aggressive. And that's what they're doing so far, but I expect them down pit road very shortly, Rick.
We mentioned the pit window between 33, 35, 36 laps. That's green flag laps. We've had quite a few caution laps that would extend that pit window for some of these guys.
Yeah, we've had almost, I think we've had 13 or 14 yellow flag laps, up to 15 now. So these guys, I think, will easily be able to run past lap 40, probably even 41 or 42. What they have to ask themselves is, when do they want to stop it? Now it's not about windows. Now it's kind of about a gut feeling for the crew chief. You heard Tony Gibson say he really isn't doing it for strategy. His strategy is really just to keep his car in clean air. And, at times that can work. To win these races, you have to have a car in one piece at the end of them. Sometimes the best way to do that is to run off sequence with the leaders.
There's been some contact numerous times during this race, Jeff.
And these guys, Greg Biffle and Eric Amarola, coming off turn 1. Greg got loose, had to chase up the racetrack, got in the side of Amarola, and here comes Allmendinger. He hangs a left. Those two guys lose their momentum. He just turned left and got by both of them.
Eric Amarola and Trevor Bayne at the Brickyard a week ago got into it with each other. And now the question comes out of how long will you try to stretch it? Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, they have not been on pit road yet this race. We've completed 37 laps on lap 38 with fuel window anywhere from 33 to 36 laps. One thing you don't want to do is run out of fuel early in the race.
Well, that's right. This is a really big racetrack. If you run out in turn 1, you're done. You're not going to make it back around. But let's remind everybody why this strategy can work. This racetrack is so big that when they pit, they come out, they're still going to be in the lead lap. As long as you're within a certain distance of the leader, what is that, maybe 10 seconds or so? If you're within about 10 seconds of the leader, you can do 4 tires, fill with fuel, leave pit road, and you're going to still be in the leaders in the lead lap. That's why this racetrack, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen next week, opens the window for these types of strategies.
And as odd as it may sound, the other thing it may help with the 78 of Martin Truex Jr., the 41 of Kurt Busch, when they pit, is they'll come out into maybe some open or clean air in the racetrack. That will allow them to continue to evaluate their car not affected by traffic. Let them work on their chassis, try to make adjustments. The track always changes throughout the weekend, and it's hard to evaluate your car if you're marred back in traffic with the air of other cars affecting yours. You see here, the 78 and the 41 both turn left to come to pit road.
So the race leader, Martin Truex Jr., and the 41 of Kurt Busch making their way onto pit road. 55 miles per hour is the speed limit on pit road. Kelly.
Both of Kurt Busch's wins here at Pocono have come in this, the second race here of the season. He said he's got good rear grip, especially on exit. Otherwise, a little tight. They're making an air pressure adjustment, giving him 4 Goodyear tires, a wedge adjustment, pack him full of Sunoco fuel.
Martin Truex Jr. gets 4 Goodyear tires and a full load of Sunoco fuel. Just a little bit of a wedge adjustment. He said the car started out loose earlier today and came to him at the very end. They will take their pit stop right now and catch up with the field, Rick.
And it was Martin Truex Jr. that was leading Kurt Busch when they came onto pit road. A little bit quicker stop by the 41 team, and so the 78 will come out behind it.
Yeah, just easily staying on the lead lap. Both those cars entering turn 1. Our leader, Joey Logano, off turn 3. The number one thing here, you cannot have a penalty. For this strategy to work, you have to come down pit road once and only once. You can't speed. You can't leave a wheel loose. You can't have a mistake on pit road. You know, when we say you're not going to lose a lap, that's assuming around a 13-second pit stop. If you have this catastrophe on pit road, or your driver speeds, or you drop it off the jack, you're going to lose a lap, and that will end your day very quickly.
Kyle Busch in the 18, wanting to make it 4 wins in a row. He's won 3, and he's actually won 4 of the last 5 races. Definitely on a hot streak. Kyle Busch currently 3rd behind Joey Logano and Jimmy Johnson.
And I expect to see Jimmy Johnson here very soon to pit road. He's the last car that has yet to pit. He'll be completing 40 laps here in his fuel. He has had a lot of cautions. You see him here right behind Joey Logano in 2nd. So I think he can stretch a little bit farther, but at some point, like right now, if the caution comes out, the problem he has is he has to pit.
Right.
And he'll lose his track position. He's better off to pit under green. The best case scenario is Jimmy Johnson hits pit road and then the caution comes out. The back half of the field might pit. Next thing Jimmy Johnson knows, him and Chad Knaus are running 20th.
And again, that's because of the size of the racetrack. Most racetracks we go to, if you hit pit road under green, the caution comes out, that's a bad thing. Here it's a good thing, because everybody else will have to stop, and there you are possibly leading the race.
And we heard Mike Massaro mention it earlier. The communication under the red flag between Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson was, how aggressive do you want me to be on strategy? Well, they're being fairly aggressive right now, staying out there and testing the limits of this fuel mileage of the 48.
Yeah, when you talk about Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, you have to talk about all the championships and all the races they've won. But what they have not done is, I would not put those two on the aggressive side of strategy calls up and down pit road. I think of Joey Logano's crew chief. I think of the crew chief Darian Grubb for Carl Edwards. Those are the types of crew chiefs. I was probably known for the guy that would stretch my fuel or only take 2 tires and try to strategy into a win. Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus have had so much speed over the last 14 or 15 years that Chad is methodical with a race car, but he hasn't had to get outside the box with some of his strategies. And not that he doesn't know it. We started at Sonoma this year. He was outside the box. He's willing to do it. They've just been so fast they haven't had to.
And we're hearing he's calling him in this time. There's been 15 laps of caution. So you think about that. They probably have plenty of fuel, even though they've gone over the window by about 7 or 8 laps. But they are making the hard left turn, and the 48 and Jimmy Johnson will make his way onto pit road. So out in front, it's still Joey Logano. Kyle Busch has moved up to 2nd as the 48 of Jimmy Johnson slowly moves down pit road, and he comes closer to you, Mike.
And Rick, in practice on Saturday, Jimmy Johnson's car was loose. That's what they battled throughout the session. Today, though, the car has had very good balance. Jimmy's been very happy with it. They'll still make a wedge adjustment and a 4-tire change. They'll get as much Sunoco race fuel in this race car as they possibly can. As you saw, they got tremendous fuel mileage and a good stop for the 48.
So good stop for Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team. He will make his way back out on the track and on the lead lap. Joey Logano out in front of the field at Pocono. Let's take a look at the biggest mover today, presented by Sprint. It has to be Ryan Newman. After changing the rear end gear before the green flag dropped after qualifying, they had to start at the back. They've already moved up 22 positions. Ryan Newman is 18th right now. Join All-In Wireless from Sprint. Get unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data. Pick your smartphone for just $80 a month. Kyle Busch running 2nd. He's about 3 seconds behind race leader Joey Logano. Now Kyle Busch, where he's running on the track, is giving him enough points over 30th place to be in the top 30. So that would, if the race continues the way it has, that would put him into the chase. So what that does to 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th, everybody moves down a spot. Kasey Kahne, with the problem that he had earlier today, now outside the top 16 in points.
Yeah, so the one of Jamie McMurray has to be feeling pretty decent, because plus 82 points is a pretty big gap over that red line. But the bigger concern I have, and Jeff pointed out early in this show, that's assuming that Kyle Busch moves in and we don't get another first-time winner. We get another first-time winner, this gets even tighter yet. That's what makes this playoff system so exciting, is that red line that we want to put up underneath 16th. That's a moving target because every new winner we have moves that red line up and down. So if you're Kasey Kahne, who's already in the garage, but Clint Boyle, Paul Menard, and Ryan Newman, plus 30 is not very many points.
And the racetracks we have coming up are opportunities for new winners. Think about A.J. Allmendinger winning Watkins Glen last year. Well, guess what? Watkins Glen is next week. That's an opportunity that team could get a win. We've got Bristol. We always know Bristol's crazy. We got Richmond coming up. That's a crazy race. So there's an opportunity for several new winners. Keep moving that cut line up. Make it hard on these guys.
And I don't want to look too far away. Let's look at this race right now. Kyle Larson's running 6th. We know that it's a matter of time before Kyle Larson gets to victory lane. And currently, he's 6th and putting some pretty good lap times together as Joey Logano continues to put cars a lap down.
Yeah, that's a good point. If the one car wins a race, no harm. Right? I mean, that's no big deal. That doesn't really hurt anybody. But when a guy is 20th in points, when he wins a race, that's when it's really gonna matter. A lot of different ways to drive this racetrack. You can see Kyle Busch is coming on the front straightaways, leaving turn 3. Jeff Gordon is driving into the tunnel turn. So, you watch Kyle Busch. He shifts right there before the start-finish line. See if Jeff Gordon downshifts into turn 3. There he goes. He downshifts. So they're both in third, leaving turn 3. Kyle Busch on a downshift in the middle of 1. Jeff Gordon, he'll shift. See when he shifts compared to the flag and stand. Real close to the same place. Kelly, you got something?
Carl Edwards coming in to make his stop. He said, I'm not bad from the center off in turn 3, but he's tight in the other turns. You see they're going to give him 4 Goodyear tires, pack him full of Sunoco fuel, and send him back out on his way. Carl Edwards has 2 wins here at Pocono.
Problem with that pit stop, guys, is that's at lap 50. That's kind of a no man's land. There's a reason Carl Edwards is on pit road by himself. You know, under that caution at lap 17, he took right side tires, but it's obvious to me Darian Grubb working for track position. Not a bad idea, but he didn't fill it up with fuel. He didn't wait on fuel. That's why we see Carl Edwards in the 19, one of the first guys to return to pit road for a second time.
He didn't wait on fuel on the first stop to have the best track position he could get during that caution. And you can see Carl's not as far ahead of Joey Logano as some of the other guys.
There's Kyle Larson in the 42 on the outside of the 20 of Matt Kenseth. This is Kenseth overtaking Kyle Larson for the 6th spot.
Spent a lot of time yesterday in practice watching the 20 car on the 20 car speed. He had a really fast race car yesterday in practice, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue to improve and put himself in position to win this race today.
How about the 22? He's making the hard left turn and on his way to pit road. So now another strategy coming into play. Joey Logano on pit road. It's been 35 laps since he was last on pit road on lap 17.
But 10 of those 35 laps were caution, Rick. So not just 35 green laps. He's run 35 total laps, Dave.
And Todd Gordon told me they wouldn't be extremely risky on the strategy calls because we can run in the top 5, he said, and Joey is great at restarts. So he'll take 4 Goodyear tires and a full load of Sunoco fuel now, a wedge adjustment also for Logano, and he'll be off of pit road, ready to go for the next stint.
Is this one of those racetracks that we have to look at the end and count backwards from the end to see if this strategy works out for these guys?
Yeah, we were doing that at 9 o'clock this morning. Every crew chief I met with talked about how they were going to run the race, already knowing what the end point was. These guys understand. You see here, Kyle Busch, another Toyota, has peeled off, just like the 19 of Carl Edwards. Now the 18 of Kyle Busch is on pit road. We must be getting close to his fuel window as well.
He's making his way onto pit road, as well as the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Mike.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying he's been loose off turn number 2, a little bit tight in the center. They're going to try to give him a little bit better balance. This is similar to what they experienced in Happy Hour, but not quite as dramatic. They're going to make a wedge adjustment and a 4-tire change, Dave.
Kyle Busch will also get a 4-tire Goodyear change. No chassis adjustments, but air pressure adjustments for him. He wants a little more front turn in that 18 car. As they finish up the left front now, he leaves pit road. The 20 of Matt Kenseth also on pit road right now. A 4-tire stop for him. Matt was just complaining a little about the handling. He was on pit road earlier on lap 17 as well for Wrights.
He was able to get out just in front of Jamie McMurray in the 1. Again, McMurray, another one of those drivers, points-wise, trying to make it into the chase. The 88 caught too fast entering, as you see the smoke coming out from some of the cars on their way to pit road now, trying to slow it down, but the 88 will have to come and do a pass-through penalty. Too fast entering pit road. Marty.
Rick Clint Boyer's had a pretty good car today. He says just a little bit free, but not bad overall. Billy Scott told him on the radio, we can't stretch it much further, but right here, we're going to be about 3 laps short. Took a while to get that left side up. They cleaned the grill. Clint Boyer heads back down pit road. Kelly?
That's the 42 of Kyle Larson. He started out a little bit tight, but he said it started to free up. They gave him 4 new Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, and sent him out. And now you see Eric Almirola. He said he's got no rotation on throttle. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, give him 4 new Goodyear tires, and send him off.
Also saw Alex Bowman in the 7 on pit road.
There's 88 serving his penalty. We talked about it before as 11 comes down pit road. This strategy only works if you don't make a mistake.
Here comes the 11, Marty.
And Dave Rogers said on the radio, with everybody coming now, we're going to have to stretch it a little bit further, so he kept Denny Hamlin out a couple more laps. He said the car's just been a little bit tight, more tight in turn 1 than it is turn 3. 4 tires and a wedge adjustment for Denny Hamlin, who ran in the top 5 that entire run. Paul Menard also on pit road. He said he had to work the track bar to get the drive off, especially in turn 1. He said he needs to be a little bit freer, and they're going to make that right rear wedge adjustment you saw in 4 tires. Mike?
Luke Lambert taking the cues from the 11 team. Said to come when they come. The 31 is on pit road now. Newman saying he's been loose in turns 1 and 3, but has made significant gains since making a gear change at the beginning of this race, forcing him to stop at the back of the pack. He's made his way toward the front. A good stop. He's on his way.
It impresses me so much. Under 13 seconds, those guys change 4 tires, walk away after putting 18 gallons of fuel in the car. It's so choreographed. They work daily back in at their shops working on pit practice, and they continue to do it flawlessly. Marty.
See Casey Mears coming to pit road. The car's been free for Casey Mears for much of that run. Tightened up a little bit towards the end of the run for Casey. The wedge adjustment and also an air pressure adjustment. Mike?
David Reagan's car has been loose in and off, but the center has been okay, so he's been fairly happy with the balance. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change, just trying to get him a more secure feel through the corners.
A more secure feel through the corners. I'm guessing every driver would like that. If you could give me that, that would be perfect.
Some need it more than others.
Race off pit road. Casey Mears, David Reagan. The 2 of Brad Keselowski now onto pit road.
You see the number of laps.
Right front wheel is.
Yeah, and you see the number of laps that Brad Keselowski ran. You're starting to see their hand there, Kelly, on how long they can run.
Well, and it sounded like Brad maybe didn't. Oh, and you see he's just hit a crew member, so this is a disastrous stop for Brad Keselowski. He went through his pit stall. He didn't hear Paul Wolf, his crew chief, call him in the lap before, so they're a lap behind. And now just disaster as he went through his pit box. He saw the crew member get hit in a tire, go flying into the 2. They have had issues with pit stops before. It's one of the things that Paul Wolf told me they want to work on in these next 6 races ahead of the chase.
I'm surprised they haven't thrown the caution, because with the tire out there, nobody's going to be able to go out and get it. And if someone would hit it, that could be extremely dangerous. So now it's starting to move toward the outside wall where nobody's going to go. So I'm guessing that now that it's out of the way, they may stay green, but at some point in time, someone will have to go out and get that wheel and tire. He slid through his pit stall, and this, as I just mentioned, it has to be so choreographed, but when the driver doesn't stop where he's supposed to, this can happen.
And we saw a lot of brake dust.
A big fall by the jack man.
Oh.
And that jack weighs 35 pounds, by the way, that just fell on him after he got upended by the car.
Look at the left front tire. Look how much brake dust is on that left front wheel. Mike.
Jeff Gordon's been a little bit loose in and a little bit snug in the center. They're going to make a slight chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change to the 24 car, also taking on some race fuel. A chassis adjustment on both sides, left and right.
And all these guys are on pit road Rick, because that tire is loose on pit road.
Right.
All these crew chiefs are expecting a caution. So when we talk about the strategy and trying to get to pit road and all the things that go into it, you want to be on pit road before the caution comes out. So all of these crew chiefs say, I think a caution's coming out for that stray tire. Pit, pit, pit. Come in here. Let me top off the fuel before the caution comes out.
Yeah, because the 48 was just on pit road. We saw him just a couple laps ago. Now he's back on the racetrack after coming off of pit road. Now, there's going to be a penalty for the 2 because equipment was removed. There's a wheel that's no longer in their pit box and was uncontrolled. So the 2 is receiving a penalty. Brad Keselowski will have to come back to pit road to serve that penalty. Take another look. Coming onto pit road and into his pit stall, he's just too fast.
Hope all these guys are okay. Obviously that was a big fall, but see all the brake dust on the left front wheel. I just wonder they were using so much brake, and we're going to see a lot of brake dust here, but I just wonder if he's using so much brake that the brakes didn't work the way he was anticipating them to. You know, sometimes it's easy to, you know, you're trying to get in pit road as hard as you can. You're trying to get your stall as hard as you can. The car just didn't get stopped. I mean, obviously it's, you know, falls on Brad, but I just wonder if he didn't anticipate it because the brakes weren't working quite as effectively as he had planned on.
Yeah, and you understand that the front tire carrier and the jackman, their job is to leave pit wall, one pit stall before. That's when you're allowed to leave pit wall. So you're allowed to leave pit wall one stall away. Those guys have to jump out in front of the car. You see that the jackman knew he wasn't going to make it, tried to put on the brakes, but still got hit. And we listened in on the radio after that mishap.
Sorry about that, guys. I just locked the front stuff and couldn't get him to come back.
Just like you said there, Jeff, he locked the brakes up. He couldn't get the tires to start gripping the track again, slipped through his pit stall. But that's a scary moment. The guys that have to jump out in front of that car, they have to have faith that that driver's going to stop. And you can tell.
Guys, there's the caution.
Caution is out for the tire on pit road.
We knew the caution was coming. That's why all those guys came and took fuel. That's just veteran calls on top of the pit box. These crew chiefs know NASCAR cannot leave that tire on pit road for safety reasons. Come down, get their service, knowing the caution's coming.
And NASCAR has said that the reason it didn't come out initially was it was in a safe area up next to that outside wall.
Yeah, NASCAR does everything they can not to throw the caution in the middle of a pit cycle. If they throw the caution in the middle of the pit cycle, it messes everything up. So if it's something they can do like that where it's not dangerous, they'll hold the caution and not throw it.
And so one of the members of the 2 team will have to go grab that earring tire. It has been a tough pit road for the 2 team. Remember back to Kentucky, guy stumbles over the tire, Brad's pulling out, gets hit. Today, can't get through or can't get stopped in his pit box, and 2 crew members get hit, and the tire goes flying off, and that brought out the most recent caution. With more on the 2 team, Kelly.
When, as I alluded to, as they prepare for the chase, crew chief Paul Wolf told me they're really working hard with the pit crew, trying to understand their weaknesses, whether personnel or equipment, but that one clearly was on Brad.
Sorry about that, guys. Everybody okay? I'm assuming everybody's okay. Paulie's asking. I'm getting through it. After that, not about what happened there. Sorry, I know what it was. I know how to fix it.
And the quote from Paul Wolf saying, yeah, they're okay, as good as they can be for getting hit by a race car. But the jackman Braxton Brannon and front tire carrier Jeremy Ogles both okay and still here at the 2 pit stall.
So that's good news. Tough guys, let me just tell you. I mean, that the jackman up in the air and the hard hit on the back, and of course that's one of the major reasons why they're all wearing helmets.
Yeah,
they go across.
Yeah, that's right. A great advancement on pit road, requiring to wear helmets, requiring to wear all fireproof materials, and also you heard Brad talk about he knew how to fix it. I'm sure if you saw the front brakes, they were locked up. The rears weren't. He'll probably, next time he gets on pit road, he's probably going to put some rear brake in it to try to get the rear brakes to help slow the car down and not rely on just the front brakes.
Joey Logano, race leader. Kyle Busch, second. Logano chooses the outside line on this restart. Then it's Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth. Carl Edwards back there in 5th. Green flag back in the air. They fan out once again after they've crossed the start-finish line. 4 and 5 wide. Logano enters turn number 1. Good. Sideways is the 41. Trying to hang on to it. Kurt Busch is going to keep it going the right direction. Comes back in front of traffic, and he'll get hit. And Sam Hornish Jr. in the 9 got into him.
They entered 3 wide in the corner, and it all started from there, it looked like to me. Sam Hornish's bad day continues, obviously.
Sam Hornish had issues getting into 1. The 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got into the back of him, ended his day. Now Kurt Busch sliding sideways.
Right where the oil tank is.
Another example of why these crew chiefs want track position. You want to be in the front. Talk about trying to win the race, but also if you're in the front, you have a much better chance of not being involved in a situation like this.
He got hit.
Yeah, Martin Truex, I'm sorry, Paul Menard got off the bottom of moved up into the 41. Watch the 41. He's wide open in the gas right here, trying to keep it from spinning. Watch what he does. The car starts to turn right. He just locks it down. He just locks it down, gets slow, gets the car straightened out. He ends up not wrecking, but the 9 car gets into him, hits him really hard.
Hits him in the left rear.
See, Paul Menard got the left side. There's 3 wide. Paul Menard got the left sides on the yellow line. Got up the racetrack. Everybody behind him does a really good job. Again, wide open in the gas, trying to keep it from getting spun out. He's in survival mode at this moment. He feels like it's starting to turn right. He turns back left, just locks it down, gets stopped in front of the field. Sam Hornish knocks him.
Yeah, nowhere to go for the 9, obviously, but at the same time, with a car spinning in front of you, you've got to slow down.
And that's the battle, right? The battle is you're trying to gain positions because it looks like he's going to save it. Is he going to get it straight? They're all still in the gas. But without a doubt, you know, with the 9 made contact right there, it's definitely going to end the 9's day. The 41 looks repairable, maybe not repairable to a race-winning car. Now we're on board here with the
4 wide behind
27 of Paul Menard.
We're low. 1 outside. 3 wide. Check up. Go high. Go high.
It almost looked like they made contact getting into the corner. When they touched it, it moved Paul Menard to the bottom. That's when he got on the flat part of the racetrack and then moved up the racetrack back into the 41.
Pit road is open. Will we see anybody take it at this point in time?
No, I think at this point, all these yellows right here are just helping our leaders. Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth. The guys that pitted at lap 52 or 53 were definitely short of a 2-stop window. But all these cautions, they're 2 for 1. They're banking laps. Every couple caution laps, they're putting 1 green, 5 black in the bank.
Guys deep on the lead lap may choose to come onto pit road as we see a few takers.
Now it's time for the Pinty's NASCAR Access. Pinty's, the official wingman of NASCAR in Canada. Hey there, we hope you're enjoying the race. The NASCAR Canadian Tire Series has passed the halfway mark, and Dodge is on a roll with 4 wins in the last 4 races after a tough start. Dodge Motorsport is now eyeing a 6th consecutive title. Kevin Lacroix got Dodge into the win column this year. The 26-year-old St. Eustache native won on the old airport at Mirabel, recording his first trip to victory lane in just his 2nd Canadian Tire Series start. Then it was Scott Steckley's turn to shine for Dodge. Steckley won back-to-back races in Alberta last month. His first came at the Edmonton International Raceway as the 3-time series champion recorded his 17th career victory. 4 nights later, Steckley was at it again, this time in Saskatoon, with his 18th NASCAR Canadian Tire Series win. Steckley jumped to the top of the points race. Andrew Ranger made it 4 straight wins for Dodge last week, and in St. Eustache, the veteran held on to get his 20th NASCAR Canadian Tire Series win, most all time. Dodge Motorsports appears to have rounded into form at just the right time. A record 6th consecutive championship is coming into focus. We're going to get you back to Pocono in just a second. Pinty's, the official wingman of NASCAR in Canada.
Now let's update how the Toyota drivers are doing today. Joe Gibbs Racing continuing on their trend. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th. Clint Boyer is 7th. David Reagan 10th for Michael Waltrip Racing. Mentioned the guys that are on the bubble and the potential moves of that bubble. As far as the cut line for the chase, Kyle Larson currently 5th in this race. Could he get a win and change that cut line as far as the people that are trying to get into the chase? One of those being Clint Boyer, who's right behind him.
Notice how they just are all together. That's kind of how it seems to work when there's news of the day or the news of the week. It always seems to bring things together. We heard all week about the news between MWR and Chip Ganassi Racing. Rob Kaufman announcing that he had bought ownership into Chip Ganassi Racing, and here we have 3 of the 4 cars involved. Really, all 4 cars involved. If you look back to the 55 of David Reagan, 3 rows all clumped together.
Lucky dog was the 2 of Brad Keselowski, so he will get back on the lead lap as they're 2 by 2 once again. We're back to racing.
Kahne with a great start.
Kahne jumps out front. Kyle Busch second. Side by side for 3rd now. And caution in turn number 1. A lot of smoke involved. Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Saw smoke rolling out from behind the 88. Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was 25th. 7th caution already.
We talked about mistakes earlier in the day. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was caught speeding on pit road on one of the round of green flag pit stops. That mistake got him back here in traffic, and that's when you get caught up in these accidents we're going to see here as they enter turn 1, 2, and 3 wide. There's just only so much room. The 13 comes down, catches the right front of the 88, spinning him around as he goes back up the racetrack. Really no one else involved as far as an impact goes, which is good for the 88. There's not a lot of damage.
Looks like Cole Witt in the 35 may have been on the inside of that 88 and caught the back end of it.
No, you're right. He absolutely did. It seemed like the 13 kind of forced the 88 down a lane, which is what Casey Mears is trying to do. He's trying to get into the corner in that middle lane as the 88 gets squeezed towards the bottom. Cole Witt, he's there. He's trying to hold his position. He feels he's up to the left rear tire of the 88. It's just an incident of too many cars in too small a space.
And here's what Dale Earnhardt Jr. had to say.
Is there a car down there or something, TJ? I can't tell here, man. I'm a mile away from you. Did you drive through the middle of somebody? No, I just was going into the corner. Down into the bottom. Somebody ran into the left rear quarter panel. I don't know if there was a car there or not.
That's the hard part about this racetrack. It's so big. Those spotters are actually standing next to us, and they have a vantage point like we do. The cars are all going away from them. They can't tell who's beside any car as they go into 1.
Well, that's right. It's very difficult, and you get 4 wide, 5 wide. We've seen it every restart. You see drivers, hang a left and try to get position, and it's very difficult here. You can't really trust your spotter because it's going away from you. You can't really see if a guy's just on your left rear quarter panel. So that's where the driver really has to be paying very close attention to his mirror. It's difficult here, though, because there's so much going on in front of you, because you may be 3 wide, but guess what? The row in front of you is 3 wide also. So the driver's really got to be looking in the mirror, but sometimes it happens at the last moment. You look in your mirror, nobody's there. You start turning down the corner, next thing you know, you're getting hit. So very difficult just because the straightaway is so wide and it's so long, and everybody has to funnel into turn 1, and you can't go 4 wide through there. Everybody tries to get at least 2 wide.
What a day. 7 cautions in the first 72 laps. It just doesn't feel like Pocono. Pocono's known for long green flag runs. We talk about strategy, we play strategy, we angle strategy. Well, listen, no one's strategy book had 7 cautions in the first 72 laps. This is definitely not a standard race here at Pocono.
And remember, one of those was a red flag because we had guys come off in turn 3 and almost knocked down pit road wall. Here's riding along with Brad. See, he's had a tough day already.
Long live the pioneers, rebels and mutineers. Go forth and have no fear. Come close and lend an ear. And I say, hey, hey, live it like we're renegades, renegades.
Is it time for a new car, truck, or SUV? But you need a loan, and you have no credit, bad credit, or you've had a bankruptcy, consumer proposal, or just a costly personal situation. We have the solution. Go to carloans411.ca today. We are Canada's leading provider of car loan financing solutions. In 60 seconds, you can safely and securely apply. No SIN number required and zero down options available. And at carloans411.ca, our services are free and there's no obligation. It's as simple as that. With hundreds of locations across Canada, our credit specialists will get you the auto loan you need for the vehicle you want.
I applied that morning and was approved within the hour. I was able to pick up my new car the next day.
Carloans411.ca. When the banks say no, we say yes. Call 1-855-712-LOAN. That's 1-855-712-5626. Or visit carloans411.ca today.
It's not a package. It's a promise that keeps the line moving. It's the best Monday morning ever. It's what makes a team a team. It's not a package. It's a promise. That's why thousands of businesses use Purolator to move over 1 million of them every day. So if we look busy, hey, we have promises to keep.
I'm winded after a 15-second rave. I have scabies. I have leprosy. I have osteoporosis. I just broke my pelvis. I am falling apart. It's called Andy Rooney's disease.
Can I have your stuff when you die?
Sure. Finally, after 17 years, I'm going to record The Daily Show.
The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Final episodes. All this week at 11.
Can I tell you something? I'm going to have nothing but time pretty soon.
On Comedy.
Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Some great pictures from high above the tricky triangle, Pocono Raceway. We haven't quite reached the halfway point. We've got 74 laps complete of 160, and this is not a sign that we normally ever see. The four-hauler already loaded up, and they're on their way home. And we haven't even reached the halfway point yet. So after an incredible season or start to the season, he's got 6 second-place finishes, a couple wins already, and the engine expired early for Kevin Harvick and that team. The 15, we were hearing them talk on the radio just moments ago. Here's what they had to say.
I'm guessing you ain't 3 laps short no more. Yeah, no kidding. 5 laps pretty good. This is really unheard of. I mean, at this place. I think everybody's waiting for the long green run there. Or another one.
Yeah, that's the spotter and the crew chief having the conversation about their fuel mileage. When they pitted, when the 15 car pitted at lap 54, they were 3 laps short to make this on 2 more stops. But with this long run of cautions we've had here, I don't think fuel mileage is a concern for anybody in the field. Now I think the whole field can do it just on 2 more stops.
Field once again 2x2. Joey Logano on the outside, Kyle Busch on the inside. Logano again with a great restart. Not so great of a restart for the 18 of Kyle Busch, though, and normally he's great at restarts. He fights back now and is fighting for that second spot. The 42 of Kyle Larson on the outside trying to break into the top 2. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to stay in front of the field. After they were on pit road for this most recent caution. Denny Hamlin to the inside of the 42 of Kyle Larson. Now Larson giving up the spot to the 11, and here comes Matt Kenseth and the 20 on the inside of him. So Larson dropping all the way back from racing for second. Now he settles into 5th.
Larson's in a C at Joe Gibbs Racing. He has 2 in front of him and 1 behind him.
And in the top 10, that has been the norm over the past 5 or 6 races. So Joey Logano out front. Logano's led 27 laps today. Kyle Busch has led 17. He runs second. Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, and Kyle Larson are the top 5. Carl Edwards, Clint Boyer, Jamie McMurray, Martin Truex Jr., and Greg Biffle, the top 10. I would say the only name that surprises me there a little bit would be Biffle in the top 10, showing some speed here at Pocono.
Showing some speed and doing a great job being efficient on pit road. He actually didn't pit until lap 57, so they're really good on fuel compared to the leaders. They took took a more conservative approach, but Matt Puccia and Greg Biffle have found a combination, it seems, with that 16 car that they have a little more speed than we've seen in the last few weeks.
Hamlin trying to stay in front of his teammate Matt Kenseth. Hamlin in the 11, Kenseth in the 20.
When you go through the garage, you have conversations about Joe Gibbs Racing. What continually comes up is engines, engines, engines. Every team talks about how good they run down the straightaway. Toyota right now has an advantage in horsepower. Every team, every manufacturer, they're talking about it. A couple years ago, it was the other way around. You heard Hendrick was just unbelievably quick down the straights. Now it's turned, and Toyota's got the best cars on the straightaways.
Can we say, when you say advantages, we see the 78 with momentum looking to make the pass on the one of Jamie McMurray, and he'll make that pass easily. When you say advantage, are we talking 5 horsepower? Are we talking 10?
Well, you know, it doesn't take a lot to make a difference. As competitive as these cars are and as close as the speeds are, if you gain a little bit of horsepower, it means a great deal. Small things, when things are close, add up to a lot. So the numbers, you know, no one's going to tell us what the numbers are. But the fact of the matter is, all the drivers are talking about Toyota having the most horsepower.
Horsepower I've learned in my racing career is like downforce. More is better. I'll take every bit you can give me.
As much as your lawnmower, 5 horsepower would give you, that'd be great.
We saw 11 earlier past the 42, and then his teammates followed him. 11 goes in the corner. He's on the bottom, and look at this. It's one way to get by him. Run up the racetrack, take the lane away from the 42. The 42 had no choice but to lift or get run out of the groove. Matt Kenseth took advantage of it.
And you see here at the front of the field, right here, you see 2 Joe Gibbs Racing cars, the 20 and Matt Kenseth, and the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Matt seems to get down in the corner deeper, easier to the bottom, but Denny is so consistent about rolling the middle of the corner, not giving him the air.
Did you see how close he got to Hamlin? I mean, he was all but touching him. He was trying to pull the air off the 11 car, but with these big spoilers and the 2015 package, it's hard to pull the air off a car. So it's not much advantage the guy in the back has.
Take another look at that as you saw the 20 of Matt Kenseth get right up behind that 11.
I mean, he drives to the middle of the corner, and he is all underneath the 11, but the lever never moves. So that was what we talked about at Kentucky. That's what we saw at Kentucky with the short spoiler. If the 20 would have gotten that close to the 11 at Kentucky, the 11 would have been chasing the back of his car trying to get up the racetrack, and the 20 wouldn't have been able to drive under him. With this package, it's very difficult for Matt Kenseth to do anything that's going to hurt the 11 car and hopefully gain speed for the 20.
Race leader Joey Logano closing the gap between himself and the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's trying to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about what cleaner racetrack and clean air will do. The 88 was in the last caution, was on pit road multiple times to try to fix their car. He left pit road right in front of the leaders, and he continues to run some of the top 3 lap times every lap. Joey Logano has been a little bit faster than the 88, but is unable to lap him. And as he closes in on the bumper of the 88, that allows the 18 of Kyle Busch to close in on Joey Logano.
Let's focus a little more on our top 5. We start with Dave Burns.
And Rick, one of the reasons why Joey's not getting quite the speed out of the car he had earlier, he didn't like the changes they made to it, and it's not quite as quick as it was earlier. And now you see Kyle Busch running him down. Kyle doesn't think his car works well in turn 1 right there. Feels like he's sliding the rears just a little bit, but that's the only adjustment that he might want next time he's down on pit road. Marty?
Davis' teammate Denny Hamlin is back there in the 3rd position, nursing along with that transmission and the issues. Here's a little pep talk from Dave Rogers before the restart.
Keep digging here. Keep digging. A lot of races to go. If there's anyone out there that can get in a rhythm, be smooth, and make this work, you're the man. Sorry you have to go through it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is at Pocono, one of his favorite places, trying to nurse that 11 car and get a top 10 today. Dave?
Marty, talking to the 20 crew chief Jason Ratcliffe this morning, he said, I felt like in June the only cars that were faster than us were the 4 and the 78, and of course Martin Truex won that race. So very confident coming into today. For the 3 corners, Matt says good in 1, tunnel turn is tight, and the 3 is turn 3, we're getting there on that. Kelly?
Kyle Larson celebrated his 23rd birthday this weekend, but struggled in qualifying. They couldn't make it out of Q1, but they knew they would be better for the race, and they have been. He's saying he's a little bit tight on exit, but the car has been freeing him up. They gave him a wedge adjustment, which has helped him. Behind him, you see Carl Edwards in the 19 car. You talk about that speed from JGR, where his crew chief Darren Grunt told me they found it in both their chassis and aero setups. Carl saying we're not too far off, a little bit loose in 3. I think we're
himself. They're running awfully well. He's been a little bit free, but Bowyer's been very happy with the race car. Billy Scott just told him on the radio, we're going to pit at about 8 to 10 laps. So look for Bowyer on pit road between lap 90 and 92, Dave.
Marty, I asked Martin Truex Jr.'s crew chief Cole Pearn what was better about Martin this year, and he said confidence and resilience. And if you watch Countdown to Green earlier today, you know why. He and girlfriend Sherry Pollux have been through a lot this last couple of years, and he is a much stronger man and a better driver now. Marty?
Dave, Jamie McMurray is the highest man on the chase grid without a win this season. He would love to change that. He also would like another top 10 to knock off some more points this afternoon. Currently in 9th for McMurray. He said the car right now, the worst it's been all day long. He said we're just not very good right now. Way too loose off the corners for McMurray at this moment. Behind him, Austin Dillon will round out the top 10. Been a nice run for Austin Dillon today, keeping it in the top 10. Andy Houston, the spotter, reminded him, listen, we've had cloud cover, we've had sun. Remember your adjustable track bar. Use it as you need it, because this track certainly changes as the weather changes. Kelly?
Greg Biffle in that 16 car has struggled all weekend long, and before the race he told me, gosh, we have got to get a win. We made some big changes overnight, hoping it would improve the car. Well, he said he has a little bit lack of total grip, but overall the balance not too bad in that 16 car. Mike?
Talking to the crew chief of the 55, Brian Patty, this morning about the uncertainty surrounding Michael Waltrip Racing. Well, right now, the biggest focus for Brian Patty is what's going on with his driver. Jimmy Johnson trying to make a move by him on the racetrack. He'll pick up a position, Rick.
Absolutely. Jimmy Johnson used a move that you guys described to me earlier. When two cars get side by side, that car behind him gets so much momentum. Jimmy Johnson did just that. Utilized that momentum and went right by both of them.
Anytime you see two cars you're bottled up next to each other losing momentum, you have to strike. It's so hard to get by people. We saw the example with Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin. It's very difficult to pass. So in each opportunity you see someone lose momentum, man, you got to be rolling.
Jimmy Johnson moves up to 11th, just behind Austin Dillon. So Joey Logano out in front of the field. Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, your top 5.
And a wedge adjustment with the wrench going in the rear window. 4 Goodyear tires and a Lotus Sunoco fuel. This will not be his final pit stop on pit road, but it might be the penultimate, Rick.
And we've got green flag pit stops taking place now as we have just 73 laps to go. So as Dave just mentioned, maybe the next to last pit stop that we will see. Here comes Joey Logano relinquishing the lead. He makes his way onto pit road. Now we'll put Matt Kenseth out front. Kenseth, Kyle Larson 1 and 2 now. Marty.
And Rick, all the way to the turn 3 into pit road. Denny Hamlin hits pit road. Going to be interesting to see what happens here. Remember, they have that transmission issue. It's going to be a wedge adjustment. Hamlin said the car is too tight, especially off turn 3. Dave?
Marty, back on the adjustments they gave to Joey Logano earlier. Another 4-tire Goodyear stop. It'll be a wedge adjustment in the left rear and full of Sunoco fuel. Mike?
Ryan Newman has made 25 positions up since the start of this race. They had to start at the back because of a rear gear change. They've been running very well, although he's been just a little bit snug. A 4-tire change and fuel for Ryan Newman as he continues his charge toward the front.
Eric Almirola in the 43, also on pit road. Here comes Matt Kenseth now. He was the race leader. He gives up the lead to come to pit road. Green flag pit stop cycling through. A guy like Brad Keselowski, Steve, you're just pointing at his name on the monitor. Brad Keselowski had his pit stop at lap 73. Marty?
Austin Dillon, that first pit stall on pit road, and that's going to be the end of the stop. Takes a long time on that right rear. They were planning on 2 tires, but that took a while, Dave.
They're going to do 4 tires for Matt Kenseth and a full load of Sunoco fuel. Again, he was complaining about tight in the tunnel turn. Little air pressure adjustment for that. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr. also on pit road at this point. And they will take a 4-tire stop as well to get into their final window.
Martin Truex Jr. Quite a few cars coming on that lap.
Yeah, and the whole theory here, and as you see up at the top of your screen, the 2 leaving pit road as well. And now we look back to our leader, Kyle Larson. The whole key is to pit before the yellow comes out. So even though Brad Keselowski could have run a bunch more laps, he says, man, if I'm in my window, Paul Wolf has done this many times before, I'm going to pit now because of caution. I can stay on the racetrack. Kyle Larson, his last time on pit road was lap 54, so he's gone a long ways. We're all the way to lap 90. But Chris Chris Heroy is crew chief. Only Chris really knows their fuel strategy because we've had so many cautions involved. It's very, very difficult to figure out how far they could go if it went under green. So they're out there leading the race. We've talked about getting in the back and cause damage, Jeff. They like where they're running. But as soon as they think they can make it from here on one more stop, they're going to hit pit road.
Which would have to be pretty soon because we mentioned earlier the pit window, 33 to 35, 36 laps. That's exactly where he is right now. As far as Kyle Larson, there have been some caution laps that have to be factored in there, and we have a caution.
And that's why, if you're Paul Wolf and Brad Keselowski, you pitted early.
The big contact, it looks like, for the 33 of Alex Kennedy. A lot of damage back there. Marty.
Well, Rick, the 15 car comes to pit road here, and they are wondering if they beat the caution light coming to pit road. They're debating that right now. Clint thinks he did, but they're saying he may not have beat the caution light. If he did beat the caution light, that's going to be a huge advantage for the 15 team. If he didn't, it's going to be a penalty, guys.
It'd be a big advantage because everybody on the racetrack has to slow down. Your pit stop continues at its pace. Pit road speed doesn't change, but when the caution comes out, every other car has to slow down, so he'll gain spots if he got on pit road before it was closed. If it was closed, there'll be a penalty.
And we'll try to track that down to see if we can see. The lights come on immediately when the caution comes out, which closes pit road. If he was past the commitment line, which is the yellow line as we see them attending to Alex Kennedy, if he was past that commitment line, past the orange cone and the yellow line on pit road before that red light came on, then he is good. And we see the 33 of Alex Kennedy driving off after the safety crews talked to him. He backed into the wall.
Yeah, I have to wonder, guys, at this same point in time, the 6 of Trevor Bayne has taken his car to the garage area. I didn't see any smoke. I couldn't see any fluid out of the car, but I don't know if the 6 broke on the racetrack and the 33 got in the fluid. I don't know if the 33 had an accident and the 6 broke something trying to avoid it. We're going to have to follow up on Trevor Bayne when he gets out of his car and see what's wrong with it.
Let's take a look again about the Boyer situation. Did he make it onto pit road before the light? It's green right now, and it changes just before he gets to that commitment line.
So that's a no.
So they'll have to serve a penalty now because they did service that car and pit road was closed.
And even if he would have seen that light come on, the only thing he would have done was maybe pass through pit road. He could have passed through pit road, and that wouldn't have been a penalty. But once you hit pit road, that's the only remedy is just keep going, don't pit, and then you would not be penalized.
Here's what the team had to say. Here was the radio from the 15 team.
Pointer, what we got going on? Somebody wrecked in one, and you were committed, and it was just a matter of when they threw it and whether or not we made it. You'd have never not got back out there. They threw it right, and you were probably 2 feet before the line. I didn't make it? That'd be close. Yeah, I thought we were all right, but we'll see what they say here.
A big disadvantage to the 15 was they're like the 8th pit box coming on pit road, so they didn't have a whole lot of time to talk about it. Clint saw green. He was on pit road. Had somebody seen the red, they could have said, Clint, pass through. He could have gone all the way through pit road and not stopped, and there wouldn't have been a penalty. It happened so quick because he's the 8th stall in. It was difficult for them to have that transaction and make that call.
And pit road is now open, so we'll see how many takers we have to come onto pit road. Quite a few. And let's go to Marty.
And Rick, this worked out well for Jamie McMurray, who was 1 lap from pitting right here. Again, he said the car was the worst it had been. It was way too loose. He said he's better when the sun goes away. Kelly.
And that timing was all wrong for the 42 of Kyle Larson. They had already called him down pit lane. He said he's just a little bit tight on the exit of 1. They're going to make an adjustment for him. And Greg Biffle in the lower left there said he starts out loose and gets tight. They're going to give him 4 towels and an air pressure adjustment. Mike?
David Reagan has been saying he's been a little bit free in and off. 4-tire change, and they took some wet, Joe. Rick?
And the 15 did get assessed a penalty for pitting too soon.
And all of these guys coming off pit road, Rick, they're going to have to line up behind all the other cars that pitted under green.
Mountains, even though the weather has been perfect, it hasn't been perfect for quite a few teams. Kasey Kahne early into the inside wall. This is a tricky racetrack, but even a tricky pit road. It hadn't been a good day for Stewart-Haas Racing. Cautions today. presented by Sprint 8. The track record is 13. That is definitely one record we do not want to break today. You can follow Miss Sprint Cup on Twitter now for a chance to win an autographed hat from today's Victory Lane. Mike Massaro.
And Rick, there's been a high level of attrition this afternoon, and one guy who's in the garage right now is Trevor Bayne. And well, this is the reason. It's a pipe that actually went through the radiator of his car, and that has to be quite the startling moment. What did you feel?
Yeah, you don't see that every day, that's for sure. I was going into turn one, wide open down the front stretch. 7 car was in front of me, and at the last second he darted, and then a tailpipe bounced up and went through the radiator. So we lost water pressure, lost oil pressure, and probably lost the Roush Yates engine here. So it's really unfortunate. I feel like we were getting our car better. We've had a rough month, and I feel like we're getting back on track here with our Advocare Ford, making gains throughout the day, and probably had a top 20 car going. So, you know, that's really unfortunate that a header came through our radiator, but you'll have that sometimes, and just wasn't our day.
And an early exit for Trevor Bayne, Rick.
Yeah, unfortunate. We've seen some crazy things already today at Pocono. Not only the Kasey Kahne coming off a 3 and into the pit road wall where we had a red flag condition, but the 15 of Clint Boyer trying to come to pit road and thinking that they made it before the red light came on, but obviously they did not. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
All right, I'll get it back here. Got a good car. Yep, good one. Yep, 6 feet from being really lucky, really unlucky.
And is that a situation where a spotter has to pay attention to that and see that he didn't make it and tell him to keep going?
It is your spotter's responsibility, but it's really hard to do. It's a last-second decision. Really, the only other option he had was to drive straight through the pits, and while that wouldn't have accessed the penalty, it still would have hurt his track position. So when we come back, Rick, I
scheduled. Kyle Busch once again in contention for another win, and because of that, the way the points are working out, he is 6 points ahead of 31st now, so he's 30th in points. Kyle Busch then would effectively be second on the chase grid, so that definitely affects those guys around the cut line or on the bubble of getting into the chase, one of those being Paul Menard.
Yeah, Kasey Kahne, we've seen him have early troubles in this race. He's on that bubble. He's now right on it in 16th. Could be Boyer having his issue, but Boyer should be able to recover. He's lost a little track position, but you have Menard, Newman, Jeff Gordon. Jamie Murray's still probably feeling okay, plus 78, but the rest of them have to be concerned.
And again, Kasey Kahne, who's in 16th, not even in his car anymore. He was obviously involved in an accident early on in this one.
Yeah, Boyer should be able to gain some spots to Kahne, but the problem is he's giving spots away to Newman, Menard, those two guys, because now he's got to fight his way all the way back from the mid-30s. So track position's king, and it's going to be hard to do without those guys having trouble.
And we talk about track position, we talk about strategy, we keep saying you want to pit before the yellow comes out. Why is that? Casey Mears will restart 13th, the first car off pit road. All 12 cars in front of him are really on the same strategy. They pit just a lap or two earlier, caught the caution, instantly got track position.
They're out in front of the field, being led by Joey Logano. Back to racing at Pocono. Kyle Busch tried to move over to the right. His teammate was there in the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and we see Joey Logano going back and forth, staying in front of both the 11 and the 18. And now Denny Hamlin with a great restart, even with a transmission that hasn't been working the best for him. He has taken second away from his teammate.
That 22 of Joey Logano, whatever transmission he has in his car, accelerates above average, better than everyone I've seen yet from the start-finish line to turn one.
Yeah, put him on the front row with a chance to win a race late in the race, and he's got an advantage on those restarts. That could be the difference and allow him to win the race.
Marty, are things looking better for the 11 team in that transmission?
And he says the transmission is much better. He said he has to use the clutch, though, to get it to shift gears. So normally, Jeff, you wouldn't use the clutch, would you? Especially the downshift. Then he's got to use the clutch all the time. Washed up a little bit there in turn 3, but very happy with the car. Transmission better.
Yeah, the car went all the way off the bottom of the racetrack, I thought he was in trouble, but he was able to keep going and actually gain ground on Logano entering turn 1. So that's telling me that the track's rubbering up some and they're actually able to run somewhere other than right on the bottom of the racetrack. But yeah, downshifting, see a move being made right here by Kyle. Downshifting into the corner using the clutch is not an easy thing to do. It's much easier if you can just put it in gear. Upshifting, no big deal. But having to use the clutch on a downshift definitely makes it more difficult.
Denny Hamlin lost a lot of ground in the center of turn number 1, potentially in a shifting area, maybe trying to get back to gear, whatever it was, but we saw the momentum lost by the 11 and the 18. That allowed the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. to make the pass on the 18. He starts to fall back. Here comes Jimmy Johnson in the 48 now.
Yeah, but the 18's hanging tough around the outside of turn 3. That is a very difficult thing to do, make momentum around the top of turn 3. But he did it and kept the momentum up and actually is going to clear Jimmy Johnson down the front stretch.
The pass by Martin Truex Jr. by the 18 was really set up by the slow turn 1 of the 11 of Denny Hamlin.
Dave. Kyle Busch and crew chief Adam Stevens had a long conversation during that last caution just about what he was feeling in the 18 car right now. As we see Martin Truex Jr. diving down to the inside of Denny Hamlin. He'll get that spot. But for Kyle Busch, a little bit tight. And he was asked, was it before or on the throttle? He said both. So car difficult to turn right now for Kyle Busch.
That's pretty normal as we run on these races and get longer into the race and rubber gets put down. And we see here on board with the 18 how black the track is. That sometimes will make the tight condition worse.
And watch right here, the 18 ran the high line. Let's see if that gives him an advantage down the straight. A lot of times that just releases the engine. It doesn't bind the car down. Let's see if it works on him, if he can gain it onto the 11 down this long straightaway.
Once again, a little bobble by the 11. Denny Hamlin up the track, the 18 right by.
And you have to ask yourself on that bobble, Jeff, is that because of his transmission issue? Is that downshift trying to use the clutch that gets him out of rhythm?
That's right. It's hard to do. It's easy on a road course because everything is going straight. Everything happens quickly. You can time your RPMs, all that right. But on this track, you lift and you have to downshift later into the corner. And it's hard to sync everything up. Get the clutch in, get it downshifted. It's much harder here than it would be on a road course.
Kyle Busch back to third. He's able to get by his teammate, Denny Hamlin. So Joey Logano out front. Martin Truex Jr. trying to complete the season sweep at Pocono has moved up to second. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5.
We saw Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin racing. You see the 78 gets by. Look at Kyle Busch. He puts his hand there like, man, what the heck? I lost another spot. You know, that's just a little bit of frustration, but he keeps fighting. He knew the 48 was under him. Works hard, fights the 48 hard, uses that upper groove, and ends up getting back by him. So you can see a little bit of frustration with Kyle, but he kept on digging and ended up getting by the 48.
Continuing to log laps at over 170 plus miles an hour. We've got 52-second laps turned by Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson. 2.5 miles in under a minute. Austin Dillon still in the top 10. He runs 9th. Kyle Larson 7th. Still looking for a win. Sprint Cup Series. There's Dillon. RCR having a little better run today.
RCR seems to be gaining a little bit of momentum with the Austin Dillon's definitely running better since that crew chief change. And I'm going to tell you somebody who's not running well. Looks like to me Hendrick Motorsports, with the exception of Jimmy Johnson and his team. Jeff Gordon's in 19th. Obviously, Kasey Kahne hit his problem. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has gotten back in the lead lap, and we know he has a fast race car and clean air, but there's just not the speed we saw from the Hendrick cars earlier in the year.
Hendrick Motorsports struggling for the past 2 weekends because in Indianapolis it was their poorest showing at that racetrack. Now trying to get something going with Jeff Gordon.
NASCAR racing is brought to you by Penty's. Wing your way to Miami with the Penty's Epic Wingman Weekend. And you can experience the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Championship at Homestead Miami Speedway. Head to Penty'sWingman.com now to enter.
Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels.
I've been saying this a lot lately, but
What does it mean for you? It means that by using Trivago, you could save up to 15% or more when booking your next hotel. Instead of accepting just one price or spending hours searching a bunch of sites, let Trivago instantly compare prices from hundreds of websites to save you both time and money. And that is how Trivago finds your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
Tom is trying to justify buying a new car. That should do it.
Need a good reason? There's never been a better time to get yourself into the best-selling car in Canada for 17 years. Now during the Honda Model Clearout, get a $1,000 Civic bonus when you lease any new 2015 Civic model.
Inches fake. Home to low bounds. This large male sports a way trimming black fur. Dominance of
You don't need a media monkey to make healthy choices. Think for yourself.
Hey, Canada, share your love of culture. Tell us how you support arts and culture. The winner will select a Canadian artist or cultural organization of their choice to receive a $5,000 donation courtesy of Sun Life Financial. The winner will also receive a trip for two to a Fairmont Hotel and Resort in Canada of their choice. Enter the Sun Life Financial Share Your Love of Culture contest now at culturedays.ca. Brought to you by Sun Life Financial.
NASCAR racing is brought to you by Dodge. Visit Dodge.ca to check out the 2015 Dodge Dart.
Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Gives us a great look at race leader Joey Logano and the gap between he and Martin Truex Jr. Let's dive a little deeper into our top five. We start with Joey Logano.
Yeah, Joey's complained, not really complained, but he's talked a lot the last few weeks about how they just don't have the speed of Joe Gibbs Racing. Well, today he's showing they have found some of that speed, has a great opportunity to win the race today.
Yeah, the 78 Truex Jr., the winner from the spring race here at Pocono, seemed to have lost a little speed from the first race here, but has consistently run in the top fives, still looking for that last little bit to try to overtake the 22 and really the 18 of Kyle Busch.
Yeah, speaking of Kyle Busch, they've done a nice job today, continue to put themselves in position, won the pole here for the race yet on Friday, still in position to possibly win their fourth in a row.
Yeah, the 11 at Denny Hamlin. This is a track that you expect Denny Hamlin to run well at. He swept both races in 2006. He's complained about transmission trouble today, but seemed to have found a way to overcome it by using the clutch on both upshifts and downshifts.
Jimmy Johnson running in fifth, after a disappointing Indy, coming to Pocono, there was a lot of pressure on this team trying to find a way to get the magic back, find a way to get themselves in position to win more races. We haven't seen that lately. This could be a big race for them.
With all that momentum, let's go through the field, brought to you by Carl's Jr. We'll start with Dave Burns.
And that sixth place Matt Kenseth in the yellow number 20 hasn't said if the adjustments have improved his race car yet, but talking with Jason Ratcliffe this morning, I said, with a win in your pocket, what are you guys thinking about these days? And he said, I'm done experimenting. We are trying to get ready for Chicagoland coming up, the first round of that chase, and that means stack up the bonus points. More wins, an additional 3 points per for round number 1. Kelly?
Kyle Larson started 27th up to 7th. This is just his fourth start here at Pocono, but already he scored a pole position last year. He's finished inside the top 11 all 3 times. He was just asked about how his car was driving. He said, pretty good. Behind him is the 19 of Carl Edwards. Remember, this is his first season with Joe Gibbs Racing and crew chief Darian Grubb. Darian saying they've turned a corner on their communication now that they're coming back to tracks for the second time. Their focus now, more wins. Every win worth 3 points as they head into the chase, Marty.
Kelly, a moment ago, Jeff Burton was talking about how Austin Dillon has been running much better since Slugger Labbe came over to be the crew chief. I asked Austin about that. So what's been the difference? He said, I love how Slugger challenges me. He's almost like a coach, and I need that a little bit when I'm on the radio. He said, I've loved it for every race I've had him on the pit box. Right now, he's really good off turn 1, but not so good off the tunnel turn. That's what he's struggling with, Kelly.
Brad Keselowski celebrating his dad Bob's birthday this weekend, who won here at Pocono in an ARCA race. ARCA car, I should say, 5 different times. His big focus now for Brad
prepare for the race today? Well, he watched our practice sessions back this morning, watched the tape of that because he's trying to learn what the engineers are telling him about the attitude of the car coming off the corner. It's paid off. Bernard having one of his best ever Pocono runs. He's run around the top 10 all day long, Mike.
And another guy, Marty, having one of his best Pocono runs is definitely David Reagan. He's been in and around the top 10 throughout the course of the afternoon. His best career finish here has been 5th. He's got a pretty good race car right now. The last thing he radioed in, it's neutral. They're just playing the track position game today, hoping it pays off, Kelly.
It's been a very difficult season for Greg Biffle and Roush Fenway Racing, but this is a great place for them to turn things around. Last year, the race here at Pocono started off a streak of 5 straight races inside the top 10. Greg saying that his car starts out loose, then gets tight, then gets pretty good. Doesn't really make sense, but it seems to be working, Mike.
The June race here ended in disappointment for Ryan Newman and the 31 team. So much, in fact, that at the beginning of the weekend, he made a bold statement and said, we're coming here with unfinished business. Felt like he had a top 5 car back in June. It feels like he's got a pretty good race car today, too. He's had to make his way from the back, however, to do it. Right now, he's encroaching on the top 10. Kelly?
Tony Stewart started inside the top 5 for the second straight week, but now he has dropped back to 15th. When I talked to his crew chief, Chad Johnson, and asked if they had found some speed in the 14, he said, we're reserving judgment until we get to the next few tracks, just because Indy and Pocono are so different from the rest. And in fact, Chad Johnson saying, I would take a string of 4 straight top 10s over a win at this point. Marty?
Kelly, next week on the schedule is Watkins Glen. You would think A.J. Allmendinger would really be looking forward to that one. And I asked Brian Burns about that. So you're looking kind of maybe past Pocono in the races leading up to Watkins Glen. He said absolutely not. We need to be ready next week. Obviously, Dinger won the race there last year, and that's what put them in the chase. They know the pressure will be on next week, but they would love to capitalize this week. A.J. Allmendinger saying his car right now, quote, darty with the back end. Mike?
Danica Patrick's best career finish here at Pocono has been 29th. She's doing better than that right now, but had a bit of a scare moments ago. Had a bag or some piece of trash on her radiator. The car was getting hot. Temperatures were at 290, but the debris has flown away. That's good news for the 10 driver. Marty?
Mike, Jamie McMurray has spent much of the afternoon running in the top 10, but he slid backwards with a loose race car over the last few runs, and also wreaking havoc. The sun and the clouds, they're much better when the clouds come out. So when it's sunny like it is right now, McMurray's car gets extremely loose. Mike?
Marty, before the last pit stop, Jeff Gordon radioed in to Alan Gustafson saying, I just cannot get into turn number 1. There's no grip. It's almost like I'm on ice. Gustafson called for 4 tires and a wedge adjustment. The car has been better, a little bit better into turn number 1, but still a little bit loose in and off. Marty?
Mike, how about this run for Clint Boyer? He restarted 31st. He's up to 20th. The car is still very good for Boyer, and they've made their way up through the field. Brett Griffin, his spotters, just picking them off one by one, calmly working Boyer through the field. And keep this in mind, they're even better the longer they run, so Boyer still has some ground to gain, Mike.
It's been a frustrating weekend for the 88 team. They came here with high hopes based upon their experience here a year ago with a couple of victories, but it has been nothing but frustration, not only in practice, but again today. They have damage to the left rear. They developed a tire rub momentarily. It has gone away, but the car is far from perfect, Marty.
Mike, Casey Mears wound up finishing 20th at Indianapolis last week. When I talked to Booty Barker this morning, he said, honestly, I felt like we have a car that's a little bit better than that today. But right now in the 22nd position, he said, I just can't get into the corner, especially into 1. And I'm plowing off every corner, especially off 3. You got to be good in 1 corner at Pocono, and he seems to be missing it in 2 of them. Kelly?
Richard Petty won the first race here at Pocono back in 1974. And now his driver, Eric Almirola, in that iconic 43, was hoping to turn his luck around. A year ago, they had a DNF after an accident earlier this year. Engine troubles, and it does not seem to be working out for Eric Almirola. They have been loose all weekend. Now he's dealing with a tight race car. Remember, he's one of those drivers on the bubble, desperately trying to point his way into the chase. Dave?
Kelly, Justin Allgaier can make it on one more stop because they last pitted on lap 93. They caught that caution that so many were hoping for, and they put on 4 tires. The one problem, he may have a motor issue. He mentioned it, and the crew told him, well, bud, you're just going to have to ride it out.
Great job, guys, all the way through the top 25 as we see Logano still out front, has a 1-second lead over Martin Truex Jr., June's winner of this race. Kyle Busch trying to continue the hot streak that he is on. Would like to win 4 in a row. He runs 3rd. Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. Pit strategy as we close in on the number that all of these drivers are looking for. They want to get to around lap 125. Inside of 125 will be their pit window to where they could make it. That would be the goal if they can get to that number. That's just about 10 laps from now.
If you think about it, this race has been so disrupted with so many cautions. This is really an opportunity, maybe only the second opportunity of the day, where the cars have run long enough for the drivers and the crew chiefs to really be discussing how that car needs to be better. How is it in clean air? How is it in traffic? So it sounds crazy on lap 117 of 160, but haven't had a lot of chance to build on knowledge in this race so far. So we know a lot of cars are struggling, need to handle better. This is the time in a race a crew chief and a driver really need to be talking, trying to make the car better.
Joey Logano out in front, has won this race before, but it was back in 2012. As the momentum with the 48, we'll see if he can do anything with it. Trying to take fourth away from Denny Hamlin. Jimmy Johnson also has won here multiple times. 3 times Jimmy Johnson has been to victory lane at Pocono. 4 times for Denny Hamlin, though. See if Logano can finish the deal. Out front at Pocono, as you see on the right side of your screen, our Toyota Camry on-track car driven by Jeff Burton. And we look closer into the driver's seat of the 18 of Kyle Busch. A lot of things happening in there.
Yeah, we've been riding along for the last few laps, and we've seen Kyle with his left hand move over and move his track bar up and down. Also, we've seen him moving switches, probably turning brake fans on and off. These corners are so different from one to the next. The driver can make adjustments to the track bar to get the car to drive better in one corner versus the other, because the corners are so different. The car needs different things.
Yeah, we've been watching him, lap after lap. So here is Kyle Busch going through turn 2, the tunnel turn. He's going down into turn 3, and every lap I've watched him as he exits turn 3 and goes down the front stretch. If you watch Kyle Busch's left hand, he's going to adjust the track bar on the steering wheel. So he reaches down with his right hand, he downshifts into third gear, Jeff. As he exits the corner, he's wide open in third gear. He's going to take his right hand, reach down, pull it into fourth gear, but then watch his left hand. He takes it down, right there, puts on the spoke, reaches up, changes the fan. That's 2 other adjustments. Moving the track bar, either turning a fan on and off. Now he downshifts, goes into turn 1, has to get by the 9 of Sam Hornish, picks up the throttle. He's coming up out of this corner. Now remember, he has to do a lot of things still. He's going to reach down, put it in fourth gear. He's going to take his left hand off. He's going to adjust his track bar back to where he wants it for the rest of the racetrack. Reach up, turn the fans back off, and now he's going into the tunnel. Every single lap, 160 times a day, or however many green flag laps we're going to have, he's going to move that track bar and move those switches, front stretch and exit of turn 1.
And that's so he can stay in the top 3 right now. Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Busch is third. There's Logano. And now J.J. Yaley in the 23. First car a lap down. 30 cars on the lead lap. Here comes Jimmy Johnson to pit road. 38 laps to go. This could definitely be outside of his pit window.
It is, but we just saw it. What happens if the caution comes out?
Mike Massaro.
And he's on pit road. Whether or not he is in his window remains to be seen for sure, but the car is loose right now. The call by Chad Canals, 4 tires, fuel, and air pressure. Jimmy saying he needed help turning in the corner, just was not doing what he needed to do. Kelly.
And now you see the 19 there of Carl Edwards as they give him his 4 fresh Goodyear tires and send him on his way. Carl saying it's just a little loose in 1 and 3.
And so we see the 48, 19 coming off of pit road. More drivers opting to come to pit road, including race leader Joey Logano.
Yeah, I mean, the floodgates have opened. As soon as someone hits pit road, you know if you stay on the racetrack and the caution comes out, you're going to lose track position to him. So you have no choice. The 22 of Joey Logano, the 78 of Martin Truex, they had to follow the 48 to pit road.
And the 18 also coming on to pit road, as well as the 20 of Matt Kenseth. Let's go to Dave Burns.
Joey Logano has been maintaining a good balance with that 22 car by moving that track bar up and down. Behind him, or actually in front of him, Kyle Busch pits as well. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr. is on pit road. His car is loose. And for Kyle Busch, he doesn't have any switches in there that gives him more rear lateral grip. That's what he needs the crew to do on this stop.
You see Martin Truex Jr. trying to complete the sweep. the season sweep from Pocono. He comes off of pit road. Let's go back to Mike Massaro.
And Ryan Newman's team going to work. They've already completed service on the right side. Going to work now on the left side. A 4-tire change, chassis adjustment, and air pressure. Pretty good stop for the team.
And here comes the 11 of Denny Hamlin, Marty Snyder.
And Rick, Denny Hamlin did not have much to say about the car on that run. He was fairly happy with it chassis-wise. Again, the transmission holding together so far. It's going to be a 4-tire change here. See the very slight wedge adjustment for Denny Hamlin and the 11 team. Also behind him, Paul Menard pitting right now. He said his car is loose in, tight in the center for Paul Menard, who's running around the top 10 right now. It'll be 4 tires for him as well, and that wedge adjustment that you just saw. Mike?
Danica Patrick pretty happy with the race car at the moment. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment. Also the call for 4 tires and a wedge adjustment as well on Patrick's car on both sides, left and right. Marty.
Brent Boyer rolling down pit road, Mike. That took 4 tires and a very small wedge adjustment. Once again, Boyer said the car was a little bit free, but not bad, but got better as the run went along.
Good stop for the 10, Danica Patrick. Clint Boyer coming off pit road. Clint really needing a good showing here at Pocono, as he is right on the cut line for the chase with just 5 races remaining after today. Another Michael Waltrip Racing car, David Reagan on pit road, as well as the 14 of Tony Stewart. Kelly.
And Tony saying it's just a little bit tight in the center of 3, saying in turn 1 as the crew will go to work to give them fresh Goodyear tires. You see the adjustment that they made there will be 4 tires for Tony Stewart, Mike.
David Reagan saying the car has been very neutral. No major adjustments. That's 4 tires and fuel for the 55. Kelly.
The 43 of Eric Almirola, they've been loose all week, and that was their biggest struggle. And now they said they've been a little bit tight. You see 2 tires there for the 43.
And we're on lap 125 of the Windows 10 400 from Pocono. We're hearing that the 34 of Brett Moffitt too fast on pit road. He'll have to serve that penalty. Greg Biffle is in front of the field in the 16. They last came to pit road on lap 93.
And they're staying on the racetrack because if you're one of the leaders, you want to be aggressive, be on pit road, try to catch that caution. But if you're Greg Biffle, you need to be on the opposite strategy of the leaders, Marty.
Casey Mears running around the 20th position. He said the car just way too tight getting into the corner and, quote, plowing off the corner. 4 tires. They also made a wedge adjustment and an air pressure adjustment, trying to get that car to loosen up a little bit for Casey.
Casey on and off pit road. Biffle staying out on the track. A.J. Allmendinger running 2nd. Jeff Gordon, his highest running position. He's up to 3rd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also in the top 5 as we see Biffle now duck to pit road. Kelly.
And crew chief Matt Puccia reminding Greg not to speed. He said he started a little bit loose on that run, but doesn't want any big adjustments. They're going to give him 4 Goodyear tires and just make a small air pressure adjustment, Marty.
Kelly, A.J. Allmendinger ran his way into the top 3 there. It'll be 4 tires for A.J. Allmendinger and 1 round of wedge out and air pressure adjustment. So he just needs to be freed up from the middle of the corner off. Mike.
No changes the call on the 88 by Greg Ives. Just 4 tires and fuel for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's been pretty happy with the way it's been driving despite the damage on the left rear. A good stop, just over 12 seconds.
As they continue to go through green flag pit stops, Jeff Gordon now in front of the field. Joey Logano and Kyle Busch are running 2nd and 3rd. They came onto pit road at lap 123. The gap between the 2 of them is 6 seconds, though. That's how far Joey Logano has on Kyle Busch as far as track position.
Yeah, as we ride on board Jeff Gordon coming down pit road, it's very important that you not speed, but you also have to hit your sign. There's a lot of opportunity to make mistakes when it comes to green flag pit stops. You see the 24 comes in, stops right on the sign, Mike.
Yeah, Steve, he's been saying he's been loose in, tight through the center. He's got the track bar all the way down. Said it helped him in the tunnel turn, but hurt them everywhere else. They're going to make a wedge adjustment to try to help him a little bit. Also a 4-tire change in fuel for Gordon, trying to give him a little bit more of the feel he's looking for through the corners.
Jeff Gordon gives up the lead. It goes back into the hands of Joey Logano. So Joey Logano back in front. Kyle Busch runs 2nd. Martin Truex Jr. Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth, after those green flag stops have cycled through, the top 5 once again stays the same.
And Rick, you know, we talk about opportunities on green flag pit stops. Well, Martin Truex Jr. in this 78 had worked very, very hard to close in on the 22 of Joey Logano on the racetrack. You see here, you're on board with Martin Truex following the 22 down pit road. The 78 pulls in.
Here we go.
Slides through his pit box. They have to push the car back. Then they provide the service. That might not seem like much, but you see the 22, they're already on the left side tires in front of them. The 78 are now just getting to the left side tires. That is valuable seconds. Martin Truex knows he made a mistake. He's sitting in here looking out the window, watching the 22 drive away. That small mistake not only cost him time to the 22, it allowed the 18 to get between them, but look how much time on the racetrack that is. Here's the 22 of Joey Logano coming out of turn 3.
All the way back to that 78.
And here's the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Almost half of the front stretch. Had it down to 4 or 5 car lengths, Rick, and now it's half the front stretch.
And this is what they had to say on the radio.
I don't know, Martin. It's going to be hard to catch him right now if it goes green. So might as well just save a little gas and open up ourselves a better window for the end. We get extra laps.
So what they're saying there, he's so far behind now, he's not going to run them down. Don't even try to run them down. Save fuel. Open caution comes out. Take heat out of your tires. Don't push the car very hard. Just maintain position. Stay in third. Don't worry about the guy in second. Don't worry about the guy in first. Run as slow as you can and maintain third. You'll save fuel and you also save your tires. So if you get a late race restart, you haven't hurt your tires, you won't have to pit.
That is a veteran move by a young crew chief in Cole Pearn. I was always accused of being the eternal optimist, that I always thought there was a way to win, but there are times when the best thing to do is to do nothing, to understand the hand that's been dealt to you, or maybe you dealt yourself, which is what happened to the 78. He's reminding his driver. He's still giving his driver a chance to win the race, Jeff, and he knows it's not running the 22 down from 6 seconds back.
But how about the gap that has been closed from Joey Logano to Kyle Busch? The separation between first and second, almost a half a second. So they have closed that gap down considerably between the 22 and the 18.
Well, it's go time now. All these drivers know. And you heard Cole Pearn say, hey, we're not going to catch him without a caution, because he knows this is the last pit stop of the race. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, it's the last pit stop of the race. So if you got anything for the 22, buddy, you better get going. How about that lane he's running, Jeff? He's purposely running up a lane versus the 22.
Yeah, see how rubbery in the track is. See how black it is, even up top. Even Truex leaving the corner really high. But the thing about Busch is he's running that high line in the middle of the corner. He's just letting the car go. He's able to get into the throttle quick. Years ago, we saw Pocono do that. We saw the racetrack really widen out of turn 3. We've not seen it since the repave. This is the first time I've seen that start to work.
Through those green flag pit stops, the cycle of green flag pit stops, Germain Racing's 13 of Casey Mears was penalized for too many men over the wall, so they had to serve that penalty.
Yeah, you're on board here with Kyle Busch. Is really on the one-way still to get through the tunnel, Jeff. That's right on the bottom. But I want to see again as they go down into turn 3. We already saw earlier a few laps ago how busy Kyle Busch was inside the race car with switches, track bar adjuster, and here he is running purposely a lane above the 22 and doing it successfully, actually catching the 22 a little bit every lap.
Now a question will come up. Can the driver who leads the most laps win the race? As we look at the most laps led presented by Sprint, it is Joey Logano that has led the most laps, 73 and counting for the 22 team. Join All-In Wireless from Sprint. Get unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data, and pick your smartphone for just $80 a month. Again, Logano, most laps led today. And with just 27 laps to go, he will most definitely lead the most laps.
It's like the tale of two races, right? We have 7 cautions in the first 70 laps, and here we are in a 36-lap run.
Dave.
And Rick, it's like the tale of 2 weekends for Kyle Busch. Actually, maybe 3. The pole position was earned by this 18 car on Friday. And then Saturday, in final practice, the first lap out, he crashes the car off the corner. The crew worked very hard to get it back together and get him 1 lap in final practice. But crew chief Adam Stevens told me that that was one very, very important lap. They went to work to get him back on track, and they did so. So Kyle Busch now with the upper hand if he can just chase down the 22 of Logano.
And let's listen into the 18 radio as he has about a 0.6 of a second gap between he and race leader Joey Logano.
edge of the fuel. We're good to the end.
So that's the information that was given to Kyle Busch. Smooth sailing. They're right on the edge of their window. Does that make you drive differently, Jeff?
Well, I think with the leader out front, and especially right here, caught up behind that traffic, I think you're just going as hard as you can right here. I think you got to get to the lead. Being that you're this close on fuel, I think you go as hard as you can. You know what? I just say you got to try to win this race. And you can save fuel a little bit later maybe, but I think you just try to get as close as you can.
Yeah, especially with this traffic. We see here Brad Keselowski and Kyle Larson battle for 7th.
Yeah, Kyle Larson holding on to 7th. Brad Keselowski trying to take it away as he looks to the outside. But that gap was closed between the 18 and the 22 because of Joey Logano getting in behind some of the slower cars on the track.
Yeah, we saw last week in the Xfinity race that Ryan Blaney was leading. He caught behind one lap car, and Kyle Busch closed in 5, 6, 8 car lengths. Same thing here. Joey Logano, as he catches these lap cars, it's very important where he catches them and how he catches them. Kyle Busch is taking it from 20 car lengths down to about 5 as they catch more traffic heading into turn 1.
Kyle Busch, knowing, you just heard from Adam Stevens, his crew chief, that he is right on the edge of that fuel window. Joey Logano out front sets the pace.
Saw Kyle get up the racetrack a little bit in turns 1. I don't think he meant to do it. You heard him have to mess with the throttle a little bit. You heard it go to the throttle, back out, go to the throttle, back out again. He's running that higher line in turn 3, but I don't think he wanted to be there in 1. He just got in the corner a little too deep and couldn't hold it on the bottom.
Is there a magic number, Steve, as we wind down these laps, that you would come to pit road if the caution came out?
I think with this many cars in the lead lap, we have 22 cars, 23 cars in the lead lap. There's no magic number to me. If I'm running in the top 5 or top 10 and the caution comes out, I'm just saving gas for green, white checkers. There's nothing that's going to make me come and put tires on my car.
But let's back up just a minute and talk about Kyle Busch and his team. We know they're winning races. We know they're good on winning races. But can they afford to run out of fuel? Are they in the position to run out of fuel right now and trying to gain points? Are you better off saving a little fuel, making sure you can finish? Even if you finish 2nd or 3rd, that beats finishing 35th by running out of fuel. So that's a gamble that these guys may not can make that some of the other guys can. You just heard them. Save a little fuel right here. Save a little fuel. They started thinking about it a little bit. You know what? Let's don't run out. What if we get a green, white checkered? All these things this team has to worry about. Joey Logano has a win, and he's in the top 30 in points. Truex, Johnson, Kenseth, Hamlin, all those guys are good. They can gamble. This team right here, in my opinion, cannot gamble too much.
Kyle Busch has a 6-second lead, about 5.5-second lead over Martin Truex Jr. So he has a big gap between he and 3rd. Should he maybe stop shifting and go to fuel conservation mode in that regard as well, knowing that he wants to be able to save as much fuel as he can before the end of this race?
So when you're saving fuel, what you try to do is run the best lap time you can and save fuel. If you have to save laps and laps of fuel, then you don't shift. But if you're just trying to save a little bit of fuel, you go ahead and shift, and then you lift a little bit earlier, those kind of things. If they had a lot to save, then they would be doing it.
And I think that's what you're seeing here with Matt Kenseth on the inside of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson came to pit road a lap earlier than the leaders. And so he is at least 2.5 miles short on fuel. So he has no choice but to start to save, and that allows the 20 to get by.
So the 20 of Matt Kenseth has just taken the 4th spot away from Jimmy Johnson. Marty, what's going on with the 27 and they're shifting?
Well, and I'll tell you what, Justin Alexander told Paul Menard on the radio, we cannot make it. So what they've done for the last about 10, 12 laps, you'll notice in the in-car camera on the left side, Paul Menard has just now started shifting. The last about 8 laps or so, he did not shift at all. He said, so you're telling me don't shift at all? He says, yes, I'm telling you, do not shift at all. I'll tell you when he can. This last lap, he told Paul, you can shift for a few laps. We're going to recalculate from here and make sure we can make it to the end. As you said, Jeff, that's saving laps and laps of fuel when you're not shifting, isn't it?
Well, that's right. And the thing Paul had the luxury of, he wasn't really around anyone. He kind of had space. Nobody was pushing from behind. He wasn't trying to pressure somebody. So he was able to really save fuel and not really hurt his track position. Hurt his track position, but he didn't hurt his running position.
Right.
So that's an opportunity to really not shift and save that fuel. But again, every car is different. They were way short. So they had to resort to that. If you're only a little bit short, then you don't necessarily have to. Again, it's about saving fuel and still running the best lap time you can, depending on your situation.
Yeah, and these guys that are on the bubble when it comes to the chase, I love Justin Alexander asking him not to shift early in the run. Don't wait till it's 7 to go and then ask me to save a lap of fuel. Let the driver know ahead of time. The other thing about not shifting, though, Jeff, unlike asking, if I'm your crew chief and I said, Jeff, save me some fuel, and I'm trying to lift a little early, there's a lot of gray, very milky math trying to figure out how much you're saving. Where when you go to not shifting, it's a much more exact science. That's why Justin Alexander asked him for a specific amount of laps. And you see here with the bubble, Paul Menard in 15th, plus 31 ahead of where he needs to be to make the chase. They're doing great today. They're running 12th. This would be a great finish for Paul Menard. Running out of gas, though, with 23 cars on the lead lap would be devastating.
So everyone looking, or a lot of these drivers looking at the big picture. Joey Logano obviously looking at a clear racetrack because he is the race leader. Kyle Busch behind him, having to conserve fuel to make sure that he doesn't run out of gas. Martin Truex Jr. also trying to do the same thing to complete the sweep.
And listen, it's the game of cat and mouse, right? Because Kyle Busch saves a little gas. Joey Logano, he uses that mirror. He saves a little gas. I mean, he's going to back up. He's not going to get much more than a second ahead of Kyle Busch because he doesn't need to. He's going to stay within a second. He's going to back his car, the 22 of Joey Logano. These drivers are so talented. It's not by chance that they're running these laps. Every one of these long straightaways, he's looking in his mirror, measuring his distance back to the 18. Another guy with a great recovery is Brad Keselowski. We saw earlier in the day he had pit road trouble. He had a penalty for a tire getting out of his pit box when he slipped through his pits, and here he is passing the 11 of Denny Hamlin for 6th.
Denny Hamlin moved down inside of the track, giving him a little clearer line on the outside, but doesn't give away the spot. Still racing him hard into turn number 1.
Keselowski, just like we saw Kyle Busch, he used the outside in turn 3 and was able to carry a lot of momentum, only using the outside, ultimately past the 11 car.
Kelly.
Brad Keselowski in that, too, has been really happy with the speed that they've found in these cars. That Team Penske at one point tweeting that they were crazy fast, but his big issue has been on restarts. In fact, they think that his teammate Joey Logano is one of the best in the garage at it, so they have been doing overlays of data on restarts to see what Brad is missing. Crew Chief Paul Wolf said it gives him a good idea if it's something Brad can be doing better or if it's something they can give him in the car, but has been a little bit frustrating for him because they felt like they've had some of the best speed on track, but it hasn't been producing the results as of late. Dave?
Kelly, results have been coming for his teammate, Joey Logano, the leader of the race. He's been told, actually he was told about 3 laps ago, start saving if you have the opportunity. And then he was told the 18 is on that saving plan too, so save a little, it's worth it.
It's worth it, yeah.
Save a little.
Save a little, it's worth it.
I can tell you how much a coffee cup with a fuel hub. Coffee cup with a fuel.
I'm thinking back to Las Vegas.
Oh, Las Vegas, the 600 at Charlotte. There's been a couple races in my career that just a few ounces, a nice small coffee would have got us to victory lane.
The 18 of Kyle Busch, as we mentioned, potentially saving some fuel. We listened in just moments ago. Here's what they had to say on the radio. Day to get there. That sounds confident. It sounds like there's more confidence now between driver and crew chief.
What I like, what Adam Stevens is doing right here, is not riding momentum into failure. What happens, you see it all the time in basketball. You get a guy that thinks he has a hot hand. He just keeps shooting and keeps missing. And next thing you know, he's shooting 10-15% from the field. The 18 is on the hottest streak in NASCAR of recent years. They've won the last 3 races, 4 out of their 9 races together. But Adam Stevens is not letting that momentum get him off track. He's sticking to the plan. The plan is to make the chase. And to make the chase, they have to be in the top 30. Kyle Busch, I think we should remind everybody, Kyle Busch was given an exemption from NASCAR because he was injured, not because he chose to run a passenger schedule. He had a serious injury at Daytona, missed races because of it. NASCAR felt that is reason enough to give him a medical exemption. If he can make the top 30, so be it. Kyle Busch is on the door of the top 30 now, and Adam Stevens is keeping the reins pulled back, right, Jeff? He's making sure that the driver stays focused on the goal at hand, which perhaps is not just winning the race.
Big picture looked at by the 18 team, driven by Kyle Busch. And Joey Logano out front, that team has been so close many times during this run that we've seen Kyle Busch on. A Penske car has actually finished second to Kyle Busch 3 of the last 4 races, and Joey Logano has finished second to him twice in that span of time. So Joey Logano wants to get in front of this guy and say, I'm not letting him by me. I'm not going to finish second to the 18 again.
Yeah, and also the 22. We talked about their situation in points, and we know they're in the chase. But they want to go into the chase feeling like they can win the championship. Right. And they've been getting outrun. They have not had the speed. They're starting to build it back slowly. So a win today would be really big for those guys to build a little bit of momentum as we head into the chase. You want to feel like you're heading the right way. You want your cars fast. You want to be able to be working on something and using those building blocks. Race Pocono, learn, apply the next week, learn, apply the next week. And the better your car is, the less you have to gain. So this team wants to be hot as the chase starts.
1.3 seconds separating Kyle Busch and race leader Joey Logano. What Kyle Busch is trying to do has only been done by a few people since 1972. Cale Yarborough in 76 won 4 straight races. Jimmy Johnson most recently 4 straight wins in 2007. But think about that. It's been 8 years since someone has put together 4 straight wins in the Sprint Cup season.
And if you were going to put a who's who of NASCAR on the screen, you basically have done it with the list of people that have won 4 straight races.
Yeah, pretty much all Hall of Famers there. And if they're not Hall of Famers yet, they're on their way in.
Absolutely.
And what's amazing about what Kyle's done, he's just been able to do it coming off an injury, a severe injury. Right. He's only run 9 races, the entire year. And to be able to do what they've done coming off the injury, be able to
He's a lap shorter than us. See, they're already calculating this math. Now, Steve, as a crew chief, I look at that and I think, are you sweating bullets, thinking, okay, we've stayed green, we've stayed green, we've stayed green. Do we have enough fuel to make it all the way to the checker?
Well, I think Adam Stevens is a smart crew chief, and he knows what the numbers really are. The question mark is, all of those numbers are calculating on a full tank of gas. And with these dump cans these teams use now without a vent can, without a second guy with the catch can, this is a system that vents itself. Air can get trapped in that system very easily. And listen, when we talk about a lap, we don't mean a gallon. Don't picture a milk gallon. We're talking about a quart, a little over a quart. So that's a small amount of fuel. It doesn't take a very large air pocket to really change your calculations, because not only is it not full, but it'll make you seem like you got better mileage than you thought. So there is specific math involved in can you make it to the finish, but there's a lot of gray areas in the numbers you input.
And even though Kyle Busch isn't in front, Joe Gibbs Racing is continuing on an incredible run. All 4 cars inside the top 10 once again this week. It's just been phenomenal what Joe Gibbs Racing has been able to do over the past few weeks. Right now, 2nd, 4th, 7th, and 9th for the 4 drivers.
Major turnaround from last year. You think about last year at this point, none of the drivers are happy. Nobody thought they had a chance to win the race. So every team's running really well. Obviously, Kyle Busch and his team are getting the most out of it right now. But all of those teams have improved a great deal from this point last year.
Marty Snyder letting us know that the 11 has stopped shifting. So they have gone into fuel conservation mode. Denny Hamlin is in 7th now. He came to pit road at lap 124, a lap later than the 3 guys up front with Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. So 1 lap better than what the 3 guys up front are running.
1 lap. 2.5 miles. We are not at Bristol. We're not at Charlotte. We're at Pocono. 1 lap at Pocono is 2.5 miles. So when we look at the top 10 and who came to pit road, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Matt Kenseth, all in the same boat at 123. But look at Jimmy Johnson. He's a lap shorter than they are. Denny Hamlin, we just heard from Marty Snyder that they're not shifting. Well, they're a lap better than the leader. Yeah. So if Denny Hamlin's not shifting, pitting at lap 124, how can Kyle Busch feel good about this coming at 123?
And you have to remember, you're looking at a car, a machine that is getting about 4.6, 4.5 miles to the gallon. So obviously not your car that you're driving down the road. These guys are looking for horsepower, so they're not getting the fuel mileage that your Toyota Camry is getting.
It starts when you come to pit road. Oh, we're going to have cautions. We're going to pit here. We're going to be just fine. We'll have cautions. And then halfway through the field run, you hit your engineer and you say, we're going to have a caution, right? We're going to have a caution. And then about 5 laps later, it's more of a, man, I hope we have a caution. I really need a caution. And that's the stress of all these crew chiefs on top of the pit box.
The tunes have changed as we're under 9 laps of racing to go. Back in front of the grandstands comes race leader Joey Logano. Now 8 laps to go. Only 8 laps remaining. Do my math real quick. We're 20 miles away. Do you have 20 miles of fuel?
20 miles is a long way. I wouldn't want to jog 20 miles. I mean, we're talking. I mean, these guys are going so fast. These laps are clicking off. But this last lap, Kyle Busch was faster than Joey Logano. Is it time for those guys to push, Dave?
And Steve, here's one more thing to consider, and you know this. Drivers drive differently and save differently. Matt Kenseth, Kyle's teammate, was just told, we think you're still a little bit short. Really, really saving that 20 car. So Kyle is different. Does he save the same? They pitted on the same lap. Will they have the same results?
So here's the strategy, in my opinion. You turn Kyle Busch loose. You say, go get him. You give him 3 or 4 laps. See if he cuts into the lead. If he can't cut into the lead and build it, slow down. Quit shifting. Give me fuel mileage. You are 5 seconds ahead of Martin Truex.
Right.
Go just fast enough so Martin Truex doesn't pass you. So
let's get him saving.
there you go. There it is.
We don't
right
need
there.
to run out here. We're not going to get to him.
We're not making progress, and we're not gaining on Logano. Let's get him saving. Quit shifting. Save fuel. Don't make a bad finish out of this day.
Listen, I'll deny it if you say it, but I think Jeff could have made a crew chief. That was a good call right there.
And we heard it on the radio. It's so amazing how these drivers are so hungry to get a win. And Kyle Busch is so hungry to get 4 wins in a row, and yet he's 1 second behind race leader Joey Logano, and he knows he's got to look big picture. The points are much more important right now than the potential of running out of gas would be here at Pocono.
This is when you've got to stand up to Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is extremely competitive. He's just ran a 52.80. He has not slowed down. He still wants that win. This is when somebody's got to stand up to him and say, look, we got to slow down. Now, he might win this race, but what if we get a green-white checker? What if those things happen? He's not making enough progress unless Logano has a problem. But is the risk worth it? And so somebody's got to be standing up saying, slow down. You work for me. Slow down.
He's second on the racetrack and currently 29th in the points because of that position on the racetrack. He's 5 points ahead of 31st. So Kyle Busch is in the top 30, which is the criteria that he has to meet to be able to be in the chase. He's already got wins. That criteria has been met. What he doesn't need to do is have a bad finish. And if he runs out of fuel, it could be a terrible finish for Kyle Busch. Joey Logano hoping that the 18 team is saying, hey, save fuel, save fuel. I don't want to have to deal with it because Joey Logano also has to think about saving fuel right now.
Maybe one of the worst things for the 18 right now is the 22 getting bigger. The 22 getting bigger in the windshield. I can get him. I can get him. That may be one of the worst things. It's hard to take a competitive guy like Kyle on the run that they're in. It's hard to take him and slow him down, but I think you see it right here. I think you see Kyle giving the space, letting Logano go. You know what? Sometimes you got to race with your head, not your foot. Finish this thing off.
Joey Logano had an 0.8 of a second lead over the 18 of Kyle Busch. Martin Truex Jr. was looking for the sweep. He's third. He's back there 7 seconds behind. A lot of people potentially banking on guys running out of fuel, trying to hang on to their position, save as much fuel as they can, hoping that somebody else runs out of fuel and they can take that position away, potentially steal a win.
And with 4 to go and 1.5 seconds behind, I think Kyle Busch's best chance to win this race is to start saving fuel.
Catch anyway, save.
You heard him. Let him go. Save. Adam Stevens has had enough. His stomach is in knots. Let the 22 go. The best chance of us winning this race is that we save better than the 22.
And save more and stay in front of the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Dave.
They just told Joey Logano save hard because Joey was switching something, Steve, in the cockpit. He had kind of a loud report on the radio, and then they said, yes, you can switch it.
So they have a lot of different adjustments, a lot of different settings in the cockpit, Dave. You know, they talk about the plan of saving fuel. Some guys even label it on the dash. Fuel savings 1, fuel savings 2, fuel savings 3. And there are different settings they could go to, whether it's short shifting at a different RPM rates or quitting shifting at all. But like Jeff said, as the 22 does that, the 18 catches him. It's basically a 175-mile-an-hour game of cat and mouse.
So normally the race is who can go the fastest and win. This race is who can go the slowest and win. I mean, it's such a reversal.
The 22 might be out of fuel. Potentially out of fuel. You see him shaking as he goes down Long Pond straightaway. He's run out of fuel. What does the 18 do now?
Get to the top.
You know what he does? He goes, man, I wish I was saving gas this whole time. He still has to make 2.5 more laps.
They're on the same strategy. Can the 18 make it? So Joey Logano runs out of fuel going down Long Pond straightaway. Is he going to make it all the way around to get to his pit stop?
Listen, we talked about this. The math of whether you can make it or not is pretty simple, but there's a lot of question marks on whether the car is full of fuel or not. A lot of things go into this. This isn't a miscalculation. This is a calculated gamble by a team that already has a win.
And we see every week when it comes time to throw the checkered flag and get the win, all of a sudden the cars go faster. So if the cars are going faster, the drivers are pushing harder, guess what? They're burning more fuel. How do you calculate that?
7 seconds. Give it all back.
5.7 seconds was the gap. He said, give it all back. He doesn't want him going any faster. By the way, 2 laps of racing to go for Kyle Busch if he can make it. But he does have a 5-second cushion on Martin Truex Jr.
And Cole Pern's telling Martin Truex Jr., you have 10 seconds back. 10 seconds back to Matt Kenseth. The 22 runs out of gas, and here you see more on pit road. The 3 of Austin Dillon, the 19's on pit road. There's a lot of guys short on fuel.
We're here in the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. has run out of gas. He also slow on the track. Now, will the 18 be able to hang on? Or has someone played that fuel conservation mode better? 1 lap to go. The white flag in the
out. I think 18's out.
And he's very slow. He's trying to make it all the way around. He might be slowing way down just to let the guy behind him catch up because it's Matt Kenseth who was 16 seconds behind him.
He has 15 seconds. He can push the clutch in, coast when he can. But, Jeff, I don't see it accelerating off the corner. I think he's completely out of fuel.
He's out.
He's shaking it, trying to get gas. The guy behind him, Matt Kenseth, could steal it.
Stay on the track. Stay on the track. 16 seconds.
Yeah, stay on the track. You can't use the access road. You have to stay on the racetrack. If you use the access road, you shortcut the corner.
But here comes Matt Kenseth, the yellow car coming up behind him. Matt Kenseth could steal this one away, or he's got Brad Keselowski behind him that could take it as well if Matt Kenseth can't hang on. Kenseth takes the lead away.
Kyle Busch will not make it back to the start-finish line. He will not make it.
Matt Kenseth has a win already this year, has won twice at Pocono. Can he add to those numbers? Will he have enough fuel?
Good job, buddy.
Matt Kenseth is going to win at Pocono.
Yeah, that is great.
The question now is how bad will the damage be for Kyle Busch? That's the question.
Awesome job, guys.
Oh, and he went to the access road, so he's almost submitting to say, I'm going to be the last car on the lead lap. And with that, there were 22 cars on the lead lap, of which he is one. How about the finish for Jeff Gordon? Brad Keselowski comes home second. Jeff Gordon in his final Pocono race is third. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Greg Biffle gets a top 5 finish at Pocono. And there you see the 18 still creeping around the track, trying to get back to the start-finish line. He can't be assisted either. Another car cannot come up behind him and push him, and it doesn't look like he's going to make it. Do you resort to...
If you got to wear the starter out.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you resort
finish
to the starter?
Sure. Yeah, he's already been using the starter trying to get himself pushed around there. He just can't. He has so far to go. I just don't think there's any way it'll ever get there.
When we talk about pit strategies and fuel strategies, it's not always clear who's going to be the winner. Luck can happen at 2.5 miles. Matt Kenseth doing donuts on the front stretch.
Joe Gibbs racing again. It wasn't Kyle Busch. This time, it's Matt Kenseth. Kelly.
And Jason Radcliffe sits atop the box here for Matt Kenseth. What were you thinking as you see everyone else around you run out of fuel, including your teammate, Kyle Busch?
Well, you know, with 20 to go, I knew we were a little short, and Matt started saving. I thought
thought those guys in front of us could make it, actually. So when they started running out, I'm like, oh, man, what do we do? Do we push harder, or do we just keep saving and try to get back? And Matt did a fantastic job of maintaining his track position and saving fuel there. This has not been one of our better tracks, so to come home with a victory here is a dream come true. It's a great racetrack and a great day for us.
Second win of the season for the 20 car, Rick.
And we saw the 18 crawl across the start-finish line. And I'll let you know that drops him out of the top 30 in the points. So he was in where he was running in second. Now he's back outside the top 30 with the finish he had today. He comes home 20th. And the checkered flag, it's handed to Matt Kenseth, playing the fuel strategy perfectly. He's even got enough fuel that he's done burnouts, donuts, a victory lap. He's going to go back to victory lane. He has so much fuel.
Sometimes in a fuel mileage race, the best thing to be is not in contention, because when you're not one of those first 2 or 3 cars, it's much easier to save fuel in 4th or 5th than it is in 1st or 2nd, because the only worse feeling than running out of gas leading the race is finishing 2nd, knowing you had more than enough to push the leader.
The celebration has started for the 20 team. We'll hear from Matt Kenseth in victory lane when we return. You can join Dan in the Man Cave. The Dan Patrick Show is on NBC Sports Network weekdays from 9 to noon. And I'm sure that Matt Kenseth has an impressive man cave, which he will be able to add the Pocono Trophy to. It's the 3rd time that he's been able to do impressive things from this racetrack. His 33rd career win. It's a 2nd win already of 2015. And amazingly enough, his career best finish at Pocono prior to this race was 3rd. So he gets his first Pocono win. Dave.
And Matt Kenseth is finally going to visit Pocono Victory Lane for something other than a photo op with fans and friends and family. This will be for the win. Matt Kenseth hops out of the 20, having outlasted the field with a very fast race car. Can you believe you're in the victory lane?
We had a really fast Dollar General Camry today, and didn't get to show it all then, and I had real bad restarts, but I thought we had one of the best cars here. So just big thanks to everybody at TRD, everybody at Dollar General, DeWalt, and really everybody back at Joe Gibbs Racing, man. They've been giving us some bullets lately, and feels good to get one today.
Matt, even after you told them you'd really saved, you were asked to save another 3/4 of a lap worth of fuel. How'd you do it?
I wanted to pass Jimmy. You just never know about those guys, and I knew that Chad didn't want me to pass him, so I wanted to pass him and get in front of him and then just control the gap. And once it started dropping behind me, Jason just told me to keep saving. We talked about it a little bit before the race, and just saved as much as we can. So again, I just need to thank all my partners, all our sponsors on this car, and everybody back at Joe Gibbs Racing. Glad to get one here at Pocono.
Matt, Jason and I talked about getting momentum for the chase. What does this mean for the 20 team?
Well, there's nothing like wins. We had a lot of wins in 2013, and we were pretty spoiled. And last year we had a big dry spell. This year we were able to win Bristol, and we've been up front a lot. So I'm just really, really thankful to be with these guys and to get the win. I never thought I'd ever win at Pocono, and I never ever thought I'd win a fuel mileage race. So we did both today.
2 things off the bucket list for Matt Kenseth here at Pocono today. Rick.
So Matt Kenseth ends up in victory lane, but it was a wild day to get there. Joey Logano leading the most laps. He led 97 laps, but the most important one, he was not able to lead. Martin Truex Jr. trying to complete the sweep in 2015 also runs out of gas. And then it was the 18 who had taken the white flag, thinking he might be able to make it, ran out of gas. And his teammate, Matt Kenseth, gets his first win at Pocono. Kyle Busch crosses the start-finish line 21st. So a big hit in the points for Kyle Busch, who had a great opportunity to break into the top 30 today, not able to do it. Mike?
Well, Rick, the streak is over, but it certainly wasn't for a lack of effort. It came just about, what, about a half a lap short?
Yeah, that was it. I didn't know we were that close. Normally when we're close or that close, I get harped on pretty hard to save fuel, and he was just telling me to save just to not put too much pressure on the car and everything else and yada yada, But man, that's a bummer. I wish I would have saved a little more, there that last run. I wish I would have known that the 22 was that close to or that far away from making it. He was way far away from making it. And, man, that was just a shame that we weren't able to get it done there. But this M&M's Crispy Camry, again, I can't thank my guys enough. Adam Stevens and everybody, we got fast race cars right now. So congratulations to Matt Kenseth for winning today for Joe Gibbs Racing. And everybody at home can continue the celebration, although it's not the right JGR car for the 18. It's certainly good for the company.
So not a win, but you closed in even closer to the 30th mark, just 13 points back right now. How are you feeling about qualifying for the chase at this moment?
Was I in before I ran?
Only 13 points back.
No, was I in before I ran out?
You might have been, yes.
Yeah, we would be celebrating a win and a chase berth, but we got greedy. I don't know how greedy, but that's the position we're in. If it came down to other things that we haven't had the success that we've had lately, we would have had to have pitted and just made the best opportunity of it and got the best finish we could. But we went for broke today and come up a little bit short, so can't fault the team.
21st place finish, but it's because he was swinging for the fences, Rip.
Well, that's the thing, and we heard the 18 and the driver make the comment, we got greedy. I mean, we were going for the win. How great would it have been if we were able to not only get the win, but lock up a chase berth? They were 5 points to the good where they were running in second. If they would have saved fuel, and obviously we look back on it, you can say that after the fact. If they would have saved fuel, they could have ended up winning the race and got into the chase.
Yeah, I don't think that saving more fuel is really an option. If you're going to try for the win and try to save gas, you might as well do what the 18 did. The really only option was to come to pit road. We saw the 19 of Carl Edwards do it. We saw Jimmy Johnson do it. But they still gained points. They still gained 10 points to 30th, even running out of gas. If they pit and they come to pit road, they perhaps finish 5th to 10th, 5th to 12th. So while they still would have gained a few more points, they're riding the wave of momentum. And I thought that interview was very telling because he looked very positive to me.
Sure.
He didn't look down. He didn't look like a disappointed Kyle Busch. He almost had a little grin to him, a little smile. Like he has confidence they're still going to make it. That says a lot about the Kyle Busch we're dealing with and the team we're talking about.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, if they didn't have the speed that they've shown, the ability to win races, they would have gone in full conservation mode. They wouldn't have even tried to win the race because they wouldn't have felt like they had enough speed to gain those points. So them being aggressive is a sign of confidence, a sign that they can get it done. Now, was it the right thing to do or not? Again, they still gain points on 30th. We'll have to wait. There's 5 more races.
That's right.
See. We'll see if it was the right thing to do or not. But, when you've been winning races, and you have a shot to win it, you don't want to give that up. I mean, we're where we are because we're winning races, so you don't want to give that up. It may not have been the smartest thing to do. Time will only tell if that's true or not.
They won 4 of the last 5 races. This one, they come home 21st. Marty.
Well, this one is a tough one to swallow for Joey Logano. And was that just a matter of a team playing with a win and able to gamble, Joey?
Yeah, really. I guess our numbers from what Todd said was good enough to make it by half a lap. So I was saving some just to really cushion it. I thought it was going to be good, and I started running out, and I was like, we're not going to make it here, and just it's tough. We did everything right today. We had such a fast Shell Pennzoil Ford. We got clean air. We stayed up there. Pit crew did awesome on pit road and kept me out front when I needed to. And gosh, we keep getting so close to these wins. We're not winning. It's so frustrating. And gosh, the truth is, if we keep doing what we're doing here and we keep racing hard and racing to the front, we're going to win these races. It's frustrating me so close, and you're counting down those laps in your head as we're getting there, and you're thinking you're going to make it and just didn't do it. So overall, I'm still proud of what we did today. It's a great weekend. We got to be happy about the speed we have in our cars and be happy about the way we executed. Just got to figure out why we didn't have enough gas. I don't know why.
Is there a way to describe to the fans how frustrating it is to try and save fuel when you have the 18 behind you breathing down your neck?
You can only save so much, and the 18's doing the same thing. He's got to push me, and I can start saving a certain amount, and he catch me a little bit, and I pull away a little bit, and you're playing cat and mouse out there, and it's never the way you really want to race. You want to go to the gas and race hard, but it's always exciting, these fuel mileage races. Just it's more exciting when you're on the winning end of it, not on the losing end.
End of the day, 12th place for Joey Logano.
It was a race won and lost on fuel strategy. Brad Keselowski will finish second. How close were you?
Yeah, we ran out there at the end. Matt did a great job, and his team We just had a really fast car. Made a big mistake on pit road early in the race and got us behind and we had enough speed in our car to drive up to about 5th or 6th there on our own merits. And then, of course, some guys ran out of fuel in front of us and we were able to get it up to the 2nd place finish. But I think we had at least that could have a car anyway, so I was really proud of the team and effort.
You mentioned recovering from the incident on pit lane. What does it say about this team? Where is this program at now as we near the chase?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly up and down on it, and that's in all areas, including myself. So we got some areas to work on, but, you know, there's a lot of a bright future in front of us. So you just got to grab a hold of it.
Brad Keselowski nurses it back for a 2nd place finish.
So while the celebration continues, and a unique celebration here at Pocono, they've got a nice area there above victory lane that the whole team is able to congregate and take pictures. We look at the unofficial results. Matt Kenseth gets his first win at Pocono. It's his 2nd win of 2015. How about Greg Biffle? That's just his 2nd top 5. Both of them were fuel mileage races to get those top 5 finishes.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth expressed surprise that he won a fuel mileage race. He's not known for one that saves fuel very well, so he expressed surprise. Jeff Gordon, the big winner today, didn't run that great, but got a good finish.
See Paul Menard, we talked about him. His crew chief told him to stop shifting really early in that run. He did come home in 11th. That's what these guys in the bubble when it comes to the chase need to do. They need to gain those points.
Truex and Logano speeding on pit road, so they got knocked down to 19th and 20th in their finishing orders. Kyle Busch 21st after starting on the pole. Running out of about a half a lap away from having enough fuel.
Ryan Newman trying to get himself by points into the chase.
Back through the next 10.
Busch after that incident all the way down 37. And Trevor Bayne with a header pipe through the radiator. That's something you don't see every day. Just total bad luck there.
And Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kevin Harvick, Kasey Kahne rounding out the 43. So how does this affect the chase grid? Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick. There is no 18 in there because he is outside the top 30. Now just 13 points back is Kyle Busch. But we look at that bubble again. The line of 16th. Kasey Kahne on that 16th position after having a bad day. Clint Bowyer, 40 points to the good. But remember, when you get Kyle Busch to jump in there, that's going to change all of this by 25 points.
Big winners today. Clint Bowyer, he gained some space off of Kasey Kahne, but he also gained on Ryan Newman and Paul Menard. And, of course, Jeff Gordon, he gained on everybody. So those are the winners.
What an incredible day it has been. We saw wild things on the racetrack, wild things on pit road. To sum it all up, let's hear from Chris Devoda and Kyle Petty.
Thank you, Rick, and I'm sure you, Steve, and Jeff need to just catch your breath because a race that started, Kyle, with all sorts of freaky things ends with fuel mileage. And Matt Kenseth just walked by. He's fired up.
Oh, he is fired up. And this was one of those days. When this race started and some of the things we saw in the first 40 or 50 laps, the spin by Kasey Kahne, things like that went on, I thought, what is going on in this race? And then it gets down to the end, I'm like, yeah, that's the Pocono I know. And then they all run out of gas, and I'm like, I got no clue. I got no clue.
And most of the drivers on that last lap had no clue where they were going to end up. You can bet Matt Kenseth at the start of the day wouldn't have told you that he would likely end up here in victory lane. That's where we are. The celebration continues behind us. We have a lot more post-race coverage coming here on NBC SN. You will also hear from today's winner, Matt Kenseth, coming up.